can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. It's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I.
I miss the sounds of screaming.
Too sure, potentially going to make sure that doesn't happen. As he gets the nose so much in the spear. In the right hand side. 10 squads. Oh my word. It's going to make this look easy. That
Whoa, Quill is back at it again!
That's how low he is, but he's going to try and see if he can find it. He does find it, gets the crack, he gets.
He's just dropping down, then throwing off from above. But it's Rev versus Rev! What's going on in here? What is this carnage? You can't do much.
Hug you, but we gotta win first.
Pops on in with the EVA 8, dude.
They all just get that down on him. Just seems like this is the favorite point for me.
He's nimble right now, 10 Gs on the last weapon, but he hits shots.
He's able to get it, but they are going to be able to get the trade-off to the favorite from one of these situations right now. They all put Axide along with the bullets coming up to face.
A little bit aggressive, and the whole team's plunging into here, and they're not really ready for this. The team with the boys, and it's Project Rise.
I'm saving the best for last.
There you go. It turns out, because, you know, we are in South Africa. It's the biggest Apex Legends tournament, and ESCOM did a little flicky flick with my lights. But it seems we're all on track. Welcome to it, the biggest Apex Legends tournament South Africa has ever seen. That's what I was trying to say. It is the Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Finals. Welcome to it. 20 of the best teams battling it out for 100,000 random prizes. My name is Teko. My mic is muted, is working, not muted. My lights are back on. Everything is good, so we're ready to go. I hope you are ready for this. Of course, incredible connection, All-Star Gaming. That's where we need to start. Look what they have done for the community, putting their weight behind this alongside ASUS, ROG, and Metal State to bring you this incredible tournament. And it's not the only one they've been doing. Esports around South Africa has been supported by All-Star Gaming. They've also been supporting a host of gaming content creators, making sure that they can build the community, support the community. And I think before we even start the show, I need to say to you, today is the day that we need to support All-Star Gaming an incredible connection as well for what they are doing for South African gaming. So show them some love. Make sure you support them. 72 stores nationwide. You can buy online as well. They offer some of the greatest gaming and tech products around. And also what's really cool is maybe you can't afford that super expensive desktop PC. Maybe you can't afford a new console. They offer great opportunities on credits as well. You can actually go into store and get a card. You can buy things on credit, 0% interest. They offer Mobi credits as well. And you can get a bunch of tech, a bunch of devices on contract across all 3 of the major networks, the only retailer to do that. There's so much that they're offering you. Not only that, more than 150,000 Rand in prizes they've been giving away on their streams, on their social media, on these esports events to you who are supporting them. So show them some love. Make sure you go and follow them. Incredible connection on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Use that hashtag ICAllStarGaming. It takes a lot to make these events happen. They are making them happen. Make sure that you let them know that we appreciate them. And they've been working really hard underground to forge the future of esports. So make sure you keep an eye on those social channels because things are coming. I know what else is coming. This is it. It is the big one, that Apex tournament. Before we get into it, though, you know how we do it here at All-Star Gaming. We've got to show you a little bit of love. Stacks of giveaways. If you're in the chat, make sure you start getting hot now. Drop a bunch of emojis. Just get really excited because I got some epic giveaways for you. The first one, of course, is that amazing gaming desktop PC. We are going to be giving this away at the end of the show. Look at that, worth 18,999 Rand. All you have to do if you want to win this is make sure you head on over to Twitter. Make sure you tell everyone, the team that you are supporting, tag Incredible Connection and Metal State, use the hashtag ICAllStarGaming. Every single tweet goes into the draw. The more you tweet, the more you go into the draw, the more you win. I'm not telling you to spam Twitter with this, but maybe I'm telling you to spam Twitter with this. You could win that desktop and we will announce the winner at the end of the show. We also have an Incredible Connection voucher available, 1,000 Rand up for grabs. I'm also going to be giving this away at the end of the show. So if you want to win this, head on over to the Incredible Connection website, screen grab exactly what you would buy with this voucher, then head on over to Twitter or Instagram, post it up, tag Incredible Connection and Metal States, use the hashtag ICAllStarGaming, and you could potentially win that voucher. Check all these prizes. This is insane, right? That's already 2 massive ones. And you know what the best part is? I'm only getting started. I have got more coming. Incredible Connection and All-Star Gaming have made sure you are taken care of. So not only do you get to watch your favorite players battle it out, but you also get to win a stack more alongside Asus ROG. So I think I'm just gonna give something away straight away, right? Let's take a look at this incredible Asus ROG headset because that is the first thing that is up for grabs now. If you want to win this, listen closely. I'm going into Teacher Sam mode. In the chat right now on Twitch, you need to start your message with ! All-Star fan, press spacebar, and then just tell us what makes you the ultimate All-Star fan. And I'm going to announce a winner after the first game. Talking about games, I'm not alone here. We're bringing you a bunch of action. The 2 best Apex Legends casters in South Africa are joining me. Proxy and Tendo Plays are here. Look how smart and fancy you all look. I love it. We suited up for the big event. Tendo, you've been casting these qualifiers for the last few weeks. How did the teams get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road for a lot of these teams, right? And it feels great that we're finally here tonight, ready to witness all of this action. I mean, I can barely contain myself in this seat right now, ready to see everybody. But yeah, we had 12 games over a period of 3 weeks, and all the teams came in and out trying to give their very best. And obviously today we've got the top 20 coming in over here, Tech Girl. And I mean, I'm just excited to get this day started, get the games going. I feel like the energy is here. Incredible Connection, Metal State. I mean, guys, what is going on? It is crazy. And let's not forget about ROG coming in as well with the sponsorship as well. I mean, wow, today is going to be absolutely great.
It is going to be great. Now, Proxy, tell me, if you're one of these teams, what do you have to do to win? How are they getting points tonight?
We talk about balance all the time in Battle Royales. It's your kill points, it's your placements. grand final, and the only way that they were going to get there is by staying true to how they normally play their games. It's about strategy. It was about making sure that you get into that zone, get those rotations done and dusted, but also staying active to get those kill points when the opportunity arises or when you create that opportunity. So that's what it comes down to: balance and balance.
So I stole this from a Rainbow Six Siege player, and I've used it in the ICAllStarGaming Fortnite tournament. I'm going to use it again because I think in Battle Royale it counts. I believe that you assert dominance from the get-go. So the moment you drop, you got to be running and gunning. That's the worst advice ever. It's why I'm not a professional Apex Legends player, but it's what I want to see tonight, because lots of eliminations, place really high. If you are the dominant one, no one can kill you in the beginning. I say that. What you want to pay attention to is how these teams play our top 20, because they're really the stars of the show, and they're probably not going to do what I just said. But these are the 20 teams that have qualified. And of course, when you take a look at them, Tendo, the two that we have to talk about, because I do think that this is where the battle is going to be, is of course ATK Esports and Nibble.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the group stages and the performances coming in from, the top seeds from each single group. And obviously ATK and Nibble are going to be your highlight players, right? I think both organizations have been fielding, some of the best in South Africa. And I think they're here to really play and really dominate. So, on Twitter today, we were having a little bit of a discussion, right, guys, where we really didn't know who to pick between either ATK or Nibble to be first place today. And we might even get shocked today, and they might not be first place. Because, I mean, you look at the lobby here, Vibing Esports, Project Rise is in here as well, Ween Gang that no one's really talking about. I know you're a fan of Punks, I think, Tech Girl. So, I mean, anybody can really pop off here. I think tonight has just so much potential.
If you're new to Apex Legends in South Africa, this is what you need to pay attention to. ATK Esports was the dominant team for a very long time. They've competed on an international level. One of their players moved to Nibble. And now when you speak to a lot of the teams, which we've had a chance to do, Nibble's the team that they're worried about tonight. So it is going to be the ATK Nibble battle. Will Nibble be able to knock ATK off the top spot? That's what we're going to be looking into. But like Tendo said, the truth is there are a lot of teams in this lobby that could cause a massive upset. Proxy, for me, I'm a Punks fan. I like the underdog. They're where I'm sort of focusing my energy. But Omnius has been very loud as well. I mean, they've had a lot to talk about. Omnius saying, well, they've been watching. They know exactly how to take Nibble down. Are there any other teams that you're taking a look at in the lobby that you're thinking, they could cause an upset tonight?
I mean, White Rabbit Gaming definitely has to come into the conversation. Pretty Pink Ponies definitely has to come into the conversation. Tendo mentioned Vibin, Project Rise. Washed, the team of Washed is also such an interesting conversation to have. And I mean, these are some of your top 10 teams that we saw within those group stages. And they've been teams that have been in the background, putting in that effort, putting in that work. So whether or not that work is going to come to fruition tonight and we're going to see it happen on our screens, I'm not too sure. But with Apex Legends, you never know till the final game is done and dusted and we have our winners.
By the time we get through this, we would have just mentioned all the teams. We'll be like, right, just watch all of them because they all stand a chance. But Tendo, there's got to be certain players. And I mean, this is always an exciting one for me because a lot of people, they come in for the finals. This is the first time they're watching, the Apex fans. Which are the players, when those names pop up in South Africa, that you need to sort of sit back, pick up your notebook and start taking notes because you think that they're some of the best to watch?
Yeah, I think what's great about, where South Africa is situated right now with the Apex Legends esport is there's such a great pool of players to pick from. And it'll be quite interesting to kind of mix and match some of these teams, but obviously, rosters are locked in their specific ways. I think looking at Nibble, for example, we got to look at Tenchi. I mean, Tenchi has been in this conversation of one of the best players on the African continent for a really, really long time because he's just so consistent in every single game that he plays. You go at ATK, Chambi, veteran of the esports right now. He's played for Elite Gaming back in the day, had a up and down spell with them, moved to ATK, and they found such great success. I think if we're looking at some of the dark horses in the tournament right now on teams that we maybe aren't talking about too much, you have to look at like going to Punks, ICAll. I mean, in the final day of group stages, ICAll was popping off. People were not really giving any answers towards him and like, what can they do to stop him? And he was just taking kill after kill after kill. I think even looking at Project Rise, Daddy Cool has been such an anchor for the team for such a long time that if, the comms are good, I feel like they can make something happen today. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that there's only 4 spots where, we can start talking about that prize pool, that, the prizes as well, because so many of these teams, I think, deserve to be in a position to be winning something like that.
100,000 Rand in prizes up for grabs for all these players. Tendo, what I find really interesting is that there are a lot of players that have moved to Apex that were at the top of other FPS titles. 20 in Nibble. I mean, he came from Overwatch. He represented South Africa in the Overwatch League. I know there's a lot of CS players as well. Why do you think that so many FPS players have jumped to this specific title?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the core mechanics of what Apex has to bring, and especially just like the diversity of how, much content there is with especially the lore that they've done with Respawn Entertainment. I think the game is beautiful, right? The gunplay is amazing. The guns themselves are really, everybody can have their pick on what's their favorite weapon, and it's great to see some people be really good at like the wingman, and some people be really good at the R301 because of just like how well they've introduced these weapons. And then of course legends is always something that we're going to talk about, right? When we start getting into that conversation of what the legend compositions are going to be, I think the more legends they keep adding to the game, the more inclusive it becomes and the more people become interested about Apex Legends.
This is interesting. So, Tendo, you mentioned the legends. Is Proxy your favorite legends to see in competition? I mean, what's your favorite composition? Let's throw that out. What are you looking to see?
Oh, in recent times, obviously that Caustic, Valkyrie, Gibraltar meta has really popped off. And as someone myself who's been playing with a few of the other teams and other players in the community, I've been running with that composition, and it is ridiculous. And also just that opportunity to have a capability to redeploy onto the map. You suddenly get all this information about who's around you. You have such stacked information. And of course, Gibby with that ulti coming through, you can be aggressive alongside, of course, Caustic, the ability to hold down those buildings and even further your aggressive talents and potential. It is insane. And it's definitely a composition that I get scared for when I see it. If I see something like that running at me, I run the other way, and that's where I wish I was Octane. But it is an absolutely amazing composition, so I'm hoping to see more of that tonight.
Faster, faster, faster. There we go. That's what's going through your head as you see that. Tendo, there's these really well-known teams and players. There are a couple of unknowns as well. I mentioned I'm going to say their name like 4 or 5 times, but Ween Gang, there we go. I got it one, Ween team. This is a team with really good players, but obviously a little bit new as well. That's one example. There's a few others. What I'm curious about is it easier? I mean, you've been following the scene for a long time. Is it going to be easier for these unknown teams to potentially take on the big dogs just because there's more content available, more gameplay that they can study, they know their rotations a little bit better? Or do you think that this lobby is pretty much on equal footing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, that you're bringing that up. I feel that there's a couple of teams that I'm looking at that it's really just about what the IGL is going to bring up onto the table, right? Talking about being that in-game leader and being able to coordinate, your unit in such a way that it will work out for you on the day. I think if I look at some of these teams, like you brought up Ween Gang, and no one was really speaking about Ween Gang during group stages because they were in 80K's group and 80K was dominating so much. So it was really hard for them to kind of catch up to where 80K was. But I mean, you look at the roster there, Vyaz, if you've been keeping up with Vyaz, he is a veteran in Apex Legends esports in South Africa, and lots of people know him as one of the best players in that conversation. But sometimes I feel like with the team that they have, Cheetah Boy and Bradley, they can be a little bit wayward with some decision making, and it just really takes a little bit of fine tuning from them to really understand exactly what to do. I think Vibing is a good example from that, right? Alphon, I think is coming in with as the in-game leader there, trying to coordinate the team. He's got a lot of experience playing with Tenchi, for example, and just being under Tenchi's wing and getting that kind of experience. So I feel like experience actually reigns, king in ZA Apex Legends, right? The teams that have been back over and over and over again have really been the teams that have been performing.
How important is a tournament like the Incredible Connection Apex Legends All-Star Grand Finals, this event as it is? How important is this for the scene? I mean, you're someone that's been involved since the beginning. I know that you've casted so many of these events. You've seen these teams, like you said, you play with these players. What does this mean to the community?
It's very difficult to put into words what sort of an investment like this, the scale of this, such an investment it can mean for a scene, not only for the players, not only for the teams, but the organizations behind those. And of course, the viewers at the end of the day, they get to receive this content. They get to learn more about Apex Legends. So an investment of this scale brings a whole new, horizon along for a lot of these teams. It gives a lot of these players even more meaning. It shows them that, like, listen, what I'm doing, this is what I can do. I can play in the Apex Legends All-Stars. I can compete for 100,000 in prizes. man, that is insane. So absolutely massive impact.
You said insane, and it's going to be insane. We are ready to go. Make sure you're keeping an eye on. It's the ATK Nibble battle, but if they get knocked out early, it is all to play for. I said that this is potentially the dark horse team to keep an eye on. So before we get into game number 1, let's find out a little bit more about Punks Gaming.
So my name is Calder. I am the RGL for Punks Interactive Gaming, obviously the Apex Legends roster. My personal favorite Legends player is Wraith. I just think her ability set is really unique in the fact that you can get out of fights really quickly and efficiently. And then her portal also, just for getting the team in and out of situations, can also be extremely clutch. I think what sets our team apart from the competition is just our experience. We've been together for a while. We've played with a lot of different players over the last couple of months. And I think that's forced us to really adapt the way that we play according to different lineups, and we just continue to do that. Game plan for the All-Star Gaming Finals is just stay together, try and focus fire as much as possible. Obviously, a 3v1 situation is always a lot better than a 3v3 or a 3v2. So yeah, we stay together and work as a team. For me personally, the thing that attracts me the most to Apex Legends is just the movement. It's unlike anything I've ever played before. It's not this linear run and gun style game like Call of Duty or CSGO. It's very movement based, and that's cool because it opens up a whole new dynamic in fights. I think the team we're probably most excited to beat is probably WRG. We've just kind of had this back and forth banter the whole time. Obviously just friendly, competitive banter, but yeah, it'd be nice to just do a little bit better at the end.
All right, we are rearing up to get inside the lobby. I'm excited, we didn't really get to touch upon drop spots, because drop spots is always an interesting conversation when it comes to Apex Legends, because we all know teams that can test off drop statistically start to finish at that lower end of the barrel. So, Thermal Station is always in the back of my head because WRG has just made that their home. I don't know if there's any places that maybe you've been keeping track of that you've seen a lot of teams that are coming through.
So what's always interesting to me is when we bring Lava Siphon into the conversation, obviously as one of the new POIs in the season, it's something that I always love to go to when I'm playing. I don't know why, I just enjoy it. I think it's the trams, I think it's the lava, who knows what it is, but it's a place that I really enjoy taking fights, and we often do see a lot of teams contest that. Whether that's going to happen here today, I'm not sure. I'm also very curious to see what Big Maud's actually going to play in today's. Are we going to see those weapons coming through into the play style? Is anyone going to be actually contesting that? And Tendo, as you've been here in the group stages, what were some of the drop spots that we saw that were heavily contested? And is that still going to happen today? It's Grand Finals, game 1 of Grand Finals. Is that risk really worth it?
Yeah, sometimes risk and reward is one of those things that you have to kind of juggle when you're playing Apex Legends, right? And when you have to kind of plan the series out to see exactly how, your team wants to play. And I think Fragment has always been a heavily contested drop spot, regardless of what is going on, and for good reason, right? You're guaranteed that beacon, you're able to get access to so many different rotations. And speaking of rotations, there's a lot of rotations where people get caught in transit. I'm looking at specifically in the center of the map, I think a lot of teams get caught in that center zone where they have to cross through a lot of chokeholds, and these chokeholds become a problem for them to kind of just juggle and micromanage because there's so many teams on their paths. So honestly, I think maybe another drop spot that might be a little bit interesting would be Skyhook as well, right? Because Skyhook is so wide and open, and there's so many places that you can be inside Skyhook, and so many teams can contest in Skyhook as well.
Yeah, and it's also taking that rotation then down to countdown, and from there on, again, we talk about Valkyrie, bring Valkyrie into that conversation. That ability to redeploy does sometimes really save a lot of the teams. It means Fragment, you were mentioning Fragment, and it looks like we actually are getting a little bit of that action right now. So Tendo, Noble Esports, we have to have them in the conversation, right? We're waiting to see if they're going to take on, the championship, if they're going to be taking on ATK and actually winning it.
Yeah, Fragment is a risky move coming in from Nibble, but I kind of feel like they're really confident coming into the lobby. Some shots are already flying through. They spot just one team inside the building here. You know, it's always good to try clear off, you know, if you do land in fragment, to try clear up as many of the teams that are there, right? Because you don't want to be in that situation where a team engages on you, and then you become in that spot where you're potentially third partyable. So for the Nibble right now, they're being really active, looking for what they can find in and around, poking here and there to see exactly where people are, and to do a couple of armor checks, of course.
Yeah, that ability to, you know, get yourselves your armor a little bit upgraded, you know, just minimize the amount of damage that you need to upgrade that Evo shield. That always comes in clutch for me. Obviously, the crafting has to come into a conversation as well. Being able to get some more ammo, some more shields, whatever it is, really, really does help. And I mean, as we look at it, Nibble Esports actually a little bit of a pot shot coming through there. Maybe just a hello, how are you doing? But for the time being, it doesn't look like they'll be aggressing that for the time. Just rotating around, just waiting to get more information.
Information is always a key variable inside Apex Legends, as Nibble is still getting this loot. And you know, you're talking about the crafting, which is one of those things that a lot of teams that aren't so, you know, game sense heavy don't usually prioritize, right? Because those meds down the line will be really crucial for teams, you know, when the resources are really low, because sometimes you're not able to get some of these rotations where you'll be favorable in some battles and to collect some loot. A couple of fights breaking loose as we actually get a quick look at where the map is. ATK is actually in that lava siphon area that you're mentioning, being one of those interesting new positions that they added in this new season of Apex Legends.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what it is about Lava Siphon, but since it has made its appearance, I've just loved dropping here. I feel like there's so many opportunities for you as a team to not only get some loot going, but also to take that, you know, that aggression towards someone else. There's a few spots that you can actually rotate off, you know, maybe take a little bit of a safer pathing towards maybe Geyser, maybe you can take it all the way to Lava City, or it's a place that you often rotate into. So, I mean, with so many opportunities there, I don't know. I absolutely love it. And as we look at it, there's quite a little bit of contention there towards the northern part of the map. It looks like quite a few teams have dropped quite close to each other. Still 20 squads on the map so far. So no one's dropped just yet. You know, they're maybe losing a player here and there, but the entirety of all the teams are still here, being detected right now. Cyprus from the Breads, just trying to get some more information to see where they are being attacked from, where that information is coming from. And I mean, Tendo, I mean, again, Bloodhound in the conversation, such a pivotal character for these sort of situations. Being able to get that information really becomes crucial.
Yeah, information, like I did say a little bit earlier, will always be one of the greatest variables inside Apex Legends. And I think that's why Seer, when he first was released, was such a good legend, because you got so much information coming out from him. And I mean, we'll still see teams here and there pick him out. Some shots flying from Cyprus here with the Rampage. For anybody that isn't aware, the Rampage is one of the new weapons they added in this new season. LMG, heavy weapon. And it packs a punch, to be honest with you. You can charge it up with a thermite and you'll be able to break some doors. So teams using that, we're going to have to watch out for. Hemlock as well, back in this conversation as maybe one of those guns that might be a little bit meta for a couple of people to use. They added that boosted reloader, one of those new hop-ups in the game as well, which I feel was a bit of a wild card, right? I mean, on the Wingman, it slaps like crazy, you know. On the Hemlock, sometimes it's a little bit, you know, difficult to kind of time those shots, I feel, but Wingman and that boosted loader, I feel like is pay right now.
And I feel like we've actually seen the Wingman being picked up more often, because now you have a little bit more of a safety net. But I'll put that on pause for the time being. It looks like the Breads actually have spotted out that team that they were contesting earlier. We have, in the meantime, also lost a team, unfortunately, down to 19. So as we look at it, Wingman, boosted loader, whatever it is, to have that action, to have that ability becomes absolutely crucial.
Yeah, it's always crucial to have that extra, you know, advantage over your opponents, right? And that's sometimes what hop-ups will offer to you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're just having a little bit of trouble with the feed. But while we're here, as we kind of saw a lot of teams making rotations, and that game was a pretty central zone as well, right? So I think a lot of teams' rotations will be quite easy in terms of getting into that zone. I don't think we're going to see too many people struggling.
No, we shouldn't. And I mean, a lot of the teams had already started moving as soon as that zone, kicked in. They're trying to get those early positions. If they do need to take a fight to actually manage to get a safe pathing into the zone, at least they have a little bit of a leeway, have a little bit of time to get that done and dusted. Because the last thing you want is to be finishing off a fight, and there comes that zone, just ready to take away at your HP, just as that last little salt in the wound, as if you're not already under pressure, trying to reset yourself and get ready for the other teams that are around or in the area. So hopefully we will be seeing a lot of those teams making their way into that zone, because again, I think, the zone's actually being quite nice to the teams, nice central zone, quite an easy rotation to take it through. Still only 19 teams left, so we haven't missed too much of the action for the time being, but DSG, of course, have decided to take their leave. And did you see that zone? It just decided to go all the way to the left there.
Yeah, zone is quite hectic, I think, for any of those teams that are caught on that east side. So again, we talk about those choke spots that a lot of teams will probably stumble into. Vibing right now, definitely doing what the name suggests and just vibing out in the building. They're actually rocking quite an interesting composition with that crypto. You don't really see too many cryptos in the lobby. Definitely with Project Rise, we know they love to favor that Watson. Whoa, the longbow shots coming in from Dizzy here, connecting for so much. Getting to charge up a little bit of his Evo shields. We have a further scan as well. So this is actually going to end in Countdown. And Countdown is, I always say these Season 6 editions, these new season editions as well, right? With these new constructions are always really difficult to play in. There's a lot of high ground and low ground disparity. And I mean, Countdown is exactly one of those places.
It's exactly that. I mean, especially with the bridges that you can move up, and you can actually change the layout of what Countdown looks like. And for the teams that maybe don't have that opportunity to rotate up, or, then you're again having this vertical fight where your team's on top of the bridge, the rest are under the bridge, and you're just waiting and hoping that someone's going to peek at some other point. It does look, though, like we're going to be tuning into Nibble, who are trying to aggress and take control of this building. Going to have to back away from that Gibraltar ulti coming through. The bombardment is not something you want to be caught up in, but it also can be absolutely amazing if you needed to actually create some space for you. Ooh, and it's just constant action. I feel like so many teams and so many players, once again, they are just running from bullets left, right, and center. It is the first game of the grand finals. They want to make sure they get to that end point. They want to make sure that they're picking up the points today. And whether that is by getting those shots, by getting those kills, however they need to do it, they need to do it here.
Yeah, and this is kind of like that phase in the game when you have a stacked lobby like this, right? Is where everybody has that pop-off potential. It's this popping and prodding, just taking a couple of shots here and there, trying to establish where everybody is. Shots flying from Cote d'Ivoire here, from INV. INV, during the group stages, were pretty consistent. Not really, a top hitter, I think, in this lobby. I think they might fall short here and there, but if they can coordinate themselves well, I feel like they might be able to come out on this on top. Lots of teams at Skyhook right now, so I'm really feeling the pressure for these teams. These rotations coming into Countdown are going to be so hectic, so detrimental. And there's nades already flying in here for INV. What can they even do in this situation? The dome is what they can do. It's popped out. They can relax. Ulti is also thrown down just to deter any single push that is coming towards them. But more nades are coming in, more damage flying in.
That little notification that there's an ArcStar somewhere in your area is absolutely terrifying, because you never know at any point. If you get stunned, if they get that notification that, there's an opportunity for us to push, and yeah, that's where they're going to take it. Gutbuster has to be careful, though. There's bullets flying in this area, not quite safe to be in, and trying to make that rotation with the team, trying to find an angle here that they can secure. It's becoming a little bit of a problem. In addition to that, I mean, you have to literally have your head on a swivel at all times. Teams are absolutely saturated within these areas. We still got 18 teams alive, 20 with the wingman doing 20 things, trying to crack those shields and find an opportunity here, just as some sort of an opening as that zone closes up. And, we mentioned it, that zone pulling all the way to the left does mean that for some of the teams, if they didn't have that beacon information, they might not be ready for this rotation, Tendo.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting, right? Because here's Nibble in this spot where they're against the zone, right? And you definitely can see the composition being a factor into that. They're playing such an aggressive composition with a Octane and a Wraith. with the Gibraltar that they don't get that extra information, so they're kind of just guessing off experience how these zones are going to pull. They made the decision to go towards the Skyhook, and Skyhook isn't really in the zone. We're getting to witness a Volpe ulti come in from INB. Really good time for them to make this decision because, you know, going into that next zone without much information while flying in, you don't really know where everybody is, so try go ahead, try get that information. Right now, Pretty Pink Ponies, a team that we should be looking out for over here, Jastrick, Majin, and Mr. Vinegar, just popping up a couple of shots back over here at where Fragment is. Maybe a couple of teams are still trying to make the rotation out of there. There is definitely one that they're shooting at. Nibble, smart decision here, Ez, right? It's stacked that side of Skyhook. Let's look for a different route to get into this zone.
Absolutely. I mean, just the fact that we still have 17 teams left within these final zones, within the final sections of this, does go to show how competitive the scene is. I mean, you go and look at, you know, some of our global championships, your global tournaments, you compare that to this, our local amazing the Apex All-Stars, and you can see how amazing these teams have improved and how they've gotten to this point. I mean, again, Tendo, from the beginning, how we've seen these teams grow and how they have just improved and kept improving. It's absolutely amazing to witness here. But 17 teams left in such a small area does mean that chaos is going to ensue. We're going to blink, and in the last final moments, we're going to see 17 drops to 15, drops to 12, drops to 10, drops to 8, and they're just going to keep going until we know who exactly is our champions heading into this one. I am impressed, though. We do have such a wide variety of compositions in this one, Tendo.
Yeah, the composition variety is quite wide, and unfortunately one player has been knocked over there already. ATK's in the kill feed as well as Nibble, so, you know, our predictions are coming to fruition a little bit with ATK and Nibble kind of dominating the lobby. Viscimus, one of those teams that we have to look out for. They've got a really strong roster on them here, coming in with Nai, Neo, and Ali, holding down Skyhook. Some longbow shots are being popped off, performing a little bit of Evo damage, but the position that they're in is not really favorable. The zone's gonna start to close in a lot of these teams, and that's 30 seconds to speak about. But there comes that Valkyrie redeploy that's gonna be so crucial for them, and they make it out of there without taking too much damage, at least for the most part, as they try to make their way towards the countdown.
That was the attempt, and so far it's going well, but look at the nade damage dropping in here. The bombardments are coming through as well. Vibe and Esports now need to vibe on out of this situation. They don't want to be caught, and unfortunately we do see quite a little bit of nap damage going through. Flesh damage, in fact. Those shields are gone. The Gibby shields right now are the absolute MVP so far. We've had so many bombardments, so many nades tossed into the situation that if you don't have that little bit of shelter in the form of a Gibby shield or a building, you're going to be finding yourself on the wrong side of this map so far. The Breads, unfortunately, looking at them, they've dropped signals, and now they might drop a little bit more if they're looking to get these knocks coming through with the Rampage doing exactly what the name suggests. 16 teams, and this action is just beginning.
Yeah, I'm loving the energy that's coming out of this lobby, right? Because it really feels like a championship game, you know? There's so much on the line, and you can definitely see it by the way these teams are playing. The Breads are in a tough spot having to play with a two-man, but, you know, I always say that playing with two people can sometimes be to your advantage because you'll have to keep your comms clear between that one other person on your team. So many teams are fighting on the Skyhook side, wondering if Vibin is able to really absorb all this pressure in this position that they're in and just control that side of the zone. Because if they can, you know, we can start to speak about them being in that last and final circle. Still 14 teams up. Ween Gang taking down, it seems, Nibble and Aqua at the same time. Lots of things are popping through the kill feed there. Ween Gang, a team that we should be looking out for as well. You know, coming in Vias, Bradley, Cheetah Boy, actually putting up some decent numbers on the board, it looks like.
Yeah, I think I did see Aquaman unfortunately going down here, and if the Breads aren't careful, they might be the next team to do so. 13 squads left alive, and Cyprus just trying to slide on out of the situation here. Damage has been dealt, those smokes are down, and now they're trying to aggress the situation before the shield swaps can come through. But it's just an unfortunate, quite frankly, quite a bit of a mess coming through here, because trying to find that angle in the midst of absolute chaos can be daunting. And of course, they have to focus on that rotation. They still have to get around this mountain, somehow get themselves into countdown, and the way to do that would have to be just to avoid this fight, to fall back, get themselves reset and ready for this final fight that's coming through. They're going to be rotating straight into the rest of the teams that have already made those rotations, and this is where the chaos starts. We've got teams on every single position that they possibly could find in countdown. Every nook and cranny right now is populated with a team.
Bogey here.
INV holding this low ground right now of where Countdown is. In a pretty good spot for the time being. Dark Esports are looking to be really aggressive here, sliding down in. Predator's already gone down. They're gonna try to get the res. For the most part, they seem to be safe. Ulti's gonna come through. The gas gonna be a bit of smoke for them in its own way and form. Team Washed are actually holding a really good spot in this zone. They're playing Caustic, Valkyrie, and Gibraltar. I think that combination we were speaking about just before we started is a really deadly combination. You have that ability to be super aggressive and defensive at the same time, and still have that option of retreating. 9 squads, the lobby's thinned quite quickly. So much is happening in the kill feed right now. We see ATK as well as WRG taking down the likes of OG. OG probably caught in a really tough position where they're from right now. Zone is going to be pulling at the top of this, so teams on the low ground are really going to be feeling the heat. But look how many teams are still down there on the side of the zone as...
Oh, I was literally about to say it. I thought WRG were busy rotating in, maybe meeting OG. I still saw some tags there, so they're still alive, still fighting in this, still needing to rotate in as we've got 40 seconds left with that zone closing up. And look how tiny it is to be housing 9 other squads right now. We still see Visimus in there, we still see OG in there, and of course WRG, who are picking up those kills and picking up those kill points. They still need to focus on the goal here. DCG, Clutch in particular, you need to run. Broseph trying to throw the Horizon ulti here just to try and get out of the situation. Clutch going down with the bombardments coming through. Craven in hand. What can they do in this situation? Trying to go for the shots, trying to get some sort of a space, but it's an absolute nightmare to be living. The HP is not looking too great either. How do you get out of this one with only a sliver of HP to work with? The shield bat goes through, and now there's a little bit of a moment to relax, at least as much as you can, to recover, to get set. WRG now also making their rotation into the absolute chaos that is this final zone.
The zone right now seems like a battlefield. There's so much warfare happening left, right, and center. WRG are currently making their way into where we lost our Team Wash, so that fight might break loose. Nando still alive for DSG somehow on the slither of HP, trying to pop a bat, but lands right on top of a team, unfortunately. And that's Wingang, who are holding the top of this high ground, doing well for themselves as they just hold out for a little bit. So many shots flying left, right, and center right now. This is a little bit unfortunate that this is happening, but we can just imagine and picture that it's just boom, 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 shots and fighting that happening in that lobby right now is. And I mean, just before it all cut out, it was absolutely insane and popping off. And I think based on the positioning, I feel like Team Wash right now is looking like a really good team to maybe clutch up that game.
They seemed like they had the only space on the map that was somewhat safe. Somewhat safe, I say, because it was just absolute carnage everywhere we were looking. I feel like all we've been seeing is Gibraltar. We've just been seeing bombardments after bombardment after bombardment after more nades tossed into the absolute chaos. But I mean, again, we saw that situation there with Nando, Broseph, and Clutch. You know, just trying to find some sort of safety to get a res going through. The res doesn't pop through because there's more shots going through. You know, you've got the Kraber in hand. Yes, fantastic, but you are in the midst of chaos. You are you're in the crossfire between so many teams. And in Countdown, as we know, with that top-down, you know, sort of differentiation, with, as you mentioned, the disparity in terms of positions, I can't even imagine how that must finish off, because you're literally just sitting half of that time trying to figure out where is this team hiding? They could be anywhere.
Yeah, and it's exactly, you know, that conversation of where Countdown is, you know, structured, and just these new additions to World to Edge in terms of from the Season 6 update and this new update where there's just like high ground, low ground, and there's kind of like even in between ground where teams can play from. And that can sometimes just be detrimental to the squads that aren't really micromanaging and making these kind of decisions ahead of time, right? Like we saw Team Wash in that position. I feel like WRG, from the spot that they were in, you know, still pretty fine. Edge of zone, you know, they can really see what's happening in front of them and control it out. But yeah, I feel like my bet on that one will definitely be Team Wash to win it up, as long as no one is pushing them in that building. But they have the caustic, right? So let's hope they're safe.
Again, Costa, he comes in clutch so many times. As you mentioned, he's just such an alternative character because you have that ability to be offensive. You have that ability to be super defensive as well, holding down a building, holding down your positions there. And it's good to see that we're seeing a lot of the teams obviously making use of him with his buff coming through in this season, in so many of the changes to the characters that have been made. Again, such a strong character for that composition. But what I do want to know is we knew WRG was in the conversation still. We knew at least, I think, remnants of OG was still in the conversation. Did you see Nibble in that conversation towards the end there in the chaos?
I was going to mention it, right? That I don't really see Nibble. I think it kind of makes sense just based on how tough that rotation was for them, right? They pulled themselves into Skyhook, thinking that the zone might be pulling in their favor, but it actually pulls in such a way and in a manner that is really just not going to work out for them and their rotation. So they make this last minute mid-round call to be like, all right, guys, we need to just back out of the situation, rotate all the way around and get to the spot where we kind of saw where WRG was coming from. So I can just imagine there was probably almost 1 million squads in that spot doing what Apex Legends does best, and third parties flying left, right, and center there. So I just think Nibble, maybe the decision making on that one was a little bit tough on their side.
That's absolute difficult situation, but we are going to head over to a wonderful, amazing host and see what her thoughts have been on this chaos so far. It's insane. It's insane, but we love to see it.
I mean, the little gremlins that were here with me seem to have jumped into our ops team. So unfortunately, I can't believe that I have to be the person to say this. Don't hate me on the internet, but unfortunately, we've lost the feed. So we didn't see the final fight, but we've got 4 games. So this is kind of, let's just see. I think this is like an exciting thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to play this as, this is exciting. So we don't get to see the final battle. So you don't get to see the game plan. So we'll have to wait till game 2. We will obviously have the scores for you. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people working on inverters right now, and sometimes those go down. But we're doing our best, but can't be held responsible for ESCOM. Anyway, we're going to get straight back into it. The first game is done. We'll have the scores in a little bit. I wanted to talk, though. I mean, Tendo, were you quite surprised to see so many teams? I was quite surprised to see so many teams towards the end game still standing.
I'm not really that surprised, actually, right? I think we looked at the lobby and it was stacked. It was, team after team after team. You could probably name them winning a game during the group stage. And I think that's exactly why they were top 5 in their group, because they're able to win games. And when you have that mentality that, hey, guys, it's all about just trying to win this game, then yes, it makes sense why so many teams are surviving, trying, these alternative loot rotations, etc., because of just how stacked the lobby is currently. And I mean, I don't think it's going to let up. I think it's going to be just as intense, as hectic, the entirety of the night here.
Tendo saying it's going to be intense for me, that was very, very high paced. That was very aggressive from the get-go. Are you expecting it to just speed up even more? Do you think this is how these teams are going to play it?
So, I mean, it was the first map of the grand final, and 10-1, we generally see teams being a little bit more passive, trying to just feel out what the competition is looking like and just sort of get a feel for what they're up against at that moment. So I'm not surprised that we had so many teams towards that, that final zone, because, as Tendo mentioned, taking the safer route sometimes, especially in your first map of the day, especially that first game, especially if there's some, first game jitters, just trying to get through that first game really does help. And whether or not I expect it to pick up, I do, especially when those points come out and some of the teams have a little bit of a safety net to work with. If they've got a really good foundation from game 1, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't go aggressive and try and take down their opponents.
So we are going to find out the same time you are who the team that came out on top was. So we're just waiting to see first, second, third, and fourth. But right now, the standings, okay, this for me is interesting. So ATK, look at that, 16 eliminations. That's going to put them really pretty in the top spot. I actually wrote this down because I was like, they were very quiet for me, Tendo, the whole way through. You saw them, They were there, they were in the fights, but they were doing what Ez spoke about at the start, which is waiting for the end game. And look how it paid off, because if you finish on top, you get the most eliminations. It's always how it works. This is impressive for them. They're going to be very happy with this after game number 1.
Yeah, I think so as well, right? I think I saw their names in the kill feed quite often, Chambi popping here and there, and Dust, and it's just that situation where we, unfortunately, we don't have 4 eyes, as we were alluding to on Twitter earlier, and we can't see everything, and it's sometimes those sneaky plays that the players are making behind that we can't really see what's happening, and that's exactly ATK, right? Always lurking in the shadows, always in the conversation of being one of the best teams, but not always as flashy and in front of us as, a couple of these other teams like the Nibbles, the WRGs, the et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, it comes to no surprise that ATK probably won that game out as well as they did. I mean, 16 eliminations. They're sitting pretty. They are ready to, be the champions of this All-Stars already, just the way they're playing in that first game.
Points for placements, points for eliminations. If you can get really good placements in the first 2 games and really good eliminations, it allows you a little bit of leeway in game 3 and 4. If you don't get that, come get game 3 or 4, there's a lot of stress on your back. We've been talking about the Nibble ATK battle. Is Nibble, they're going to be looking at this now being a bit worried. They are very flashy. You mentioned it, 20 doing 20 things. We saw them showboating. They look fantastic, but that score sheet is not good for Nibble right now.
I'm glad the camera wasn't on me, because my jaw literally dropped when I saw that score sheet coming through. I mean, seeing Nibble in 10th place, I can't really picture that, but I saw it and I'm still not believing it. But come game 2, game 3, game 4, as I mentioned, for the teams that are doing really well in that first game, setting that foundation. I mean, ATK just set a 28 points foundation. I think they're pretty strong in terms of construction, and they're going to be going on to the game number 2. Come game 2, game 3, game 4, Nibble really needs to pick it up. And especially for the other teams, if they didn't get those points coming through, then the pressure gets on them. And as you mentioned, there's a little bit of stress. There's a little bit of stress because that first game didn't go the way that you wanted it to. But I don't think any of us could have predicted that so many teams stayed alive towards the end. That, again, I can't tell you how amazed I am, because it really shows the level of competitiveness that has just increased within the scene.
It is super competitive, 100,000 Rand of prizes. This is what everyone wants to get their hands on. And I know what you want to get your hands on. You want to get your hands on that headset. You might not have seen that last battle, but I can give you a winner. So you remember what you had to do in the chat. We are giving away that Asus ROG headsets, and I'm going to give them away right now. We have a winner. Congratulations, your name is on the screen right now. You told us what makes you the ultimate. Everyone in production's laughing in my ears because I'm not even going to try pronounce whatever that is. If you want to try guess how to say that name in the chat, you spam it out. But I maybe X Oil, we're trying to go for that, but I'm not even going to try. So congratulations to you on the screen. Someone from Incredible Connections Twitch account will slide into your DMs on Twitch to arrange to get your prize to you. We are going to take a short break, a quick reset, and when we return, we will give you game number 2, and you'll see the final fight, we hope.
Come on.
The moments of truth where you're sitting waiting because after what's gone down, waiting for everything to crash as they tell you we're live. But it looks like we're all working. Thank the Apex gods, right? We saw game number one. It is the Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Final right here with Incredible Connection and Asus ROG. Game number one, ATK dominated. They were the team that you needed to keep an eye on. They've been at the top for a very long time. Nibble has been contesting. I spoke to a lot of teams. They said Nibble was the team to knock ATK off. Nibble hasn't performed in game one. So this is going to get interesting. We're going to get into all that action. But before we do that, you know how we like to do it here at Incredible Connection and All-Star Gaming. Giveaways. And I have another one for you. So who wants to get their hands on this Asus ROG keyboard? I know you do. Listen closely in the chat right now. Exclamation mark Asus ROG. Hit the spacebar and then tell us what sets Asus Republic of Gamers products apart from others. If you are selected, you will win that keyboard. And of course, don't forget, we got those other two giveaways going as well. That incredible desktop PC and those incredible connection vouchers. If you don't know how to win that, where have you been? Why have you not been listening? I'm very disappointed in you. I'm just kidding. You can ask the chat. Everyone will tell you how to do that. I hope that you are ready for this. Tendo and Ez Proxy looking so smart, doing such a great job in game number one. And now this is very interesting for me, Tendo, because we've got some incredible viewer numbers happening, lots of support coming in for Apex Legends, but also a lot of people very excited about your suit. So I came up with a fun idea. I think it's very important to get the broadcast team interacting with the chat, getting you all involved. So here we go, chat. I'm just going to let you know, if we hit 225 viewers on Twitch, Tendo, who doesn't know this, but I'm now telling him, will do a little fashion show for us in his room there of his suits on the next day. I've just been told we've already hit 225. We have to hit it again. So get back to 225. And after game number 2, Tendo will do a little fashion show for you. And you get to see his whole suit. Tendo, you're excited about that, right?
Yeah, here and there, do a little bit of modeling myself. So, it's just another day in the park. So, excited about that. So, guys, run those numbers up for us. And, I hope you guys are having a good night.
He says that, but in his head, he's like, I'm never working with Tech Girl again. That is it. We are done. I will refuse. Let's take a look at that leaderboard now. Remember, it's all about getting points on the board. 4 games tonight will determine the winners. 100,000 rands in prizes up for grabs. And ATK is Proxy again. I just want to point out, look, they are so far ahead of Dark Esports and White Rabbit Gaming. It's going to be tough. If they place in the top 4 again in game number 2, I'm going to call it that it's going to be really difficult to topple them from that top spot. What do you think?
It's exactly that situation that I was talking about. Laying that foundation in game one not only gives you such a sort of a point of relief, really, because you're like, oh, okay, first game done and dusted. Okay, we did pretty good. So let's move on to the next. But it also gives you that confidence. And 80K running on confidence gives me nightmares. It gives anyone that's in the lobby nightmares, because you better be sure that the wingman shots are going to hit, that the rampage shots are going to hit, that if there's a Kraber involved, just good luck. But if the rest of the teams can't catch up to that sort of momentum that's generated, I agree with you. I think then I don't want to say we're going to call it, but 80K is definitely going to try and make sure we do.
You don't have to. I mean, after game number 2, if they finish in the top 3 and they get those sort of eliminations, I'll call it. I'll put my head on the chopping block, but I think it'll be difficult. So you guys don't do that, because if I'm wrong, no one cares. But you guys, I'm saying it. Tendo, how do you think it's going to work with early drops? Because this is something I'm always interested in. Do the teams know where they want to drop? They know where they're comfortable. Do they change it up now coming into game number 2? Maybe some of those teams that are sitting on the lower side of the score sheet, do they think about changing things?
Yeah, coming into game number 2, it's a little bit too early, right? You kind of change your game plan and strategy coming into this one and your drop spot, even if you are getting contested. Yes, we always talk about getting contested is not a good thing, because statistically you're going to finish in that lower echelon of the leaderboard. But, in a series like this, first game will obviously be a bit of a wild card where everybody's going if it isn't something that is really well known. Second game, you have to stick to your guns and hope that you're kind of that team that asserts dominance on the team that contests you in that first game, vice versa, right? If you want the fight, you want to make sure you stay in that spot so that if that team comes back, you beat them again. And or you're that team that got beat and you're like, okay, guys, let's come back, let's try beat this up, and claim this spot as ours. So I think drop spots will probably only start to change coming into third game, unless there's some captain IGLs out there that have analyzed the game well enough to really understand some of these loot paths and where some of these teams are going to be going right now.
I'm going to be a bit spicy now because it's fun and I want to. Omnius Gaming, I got to speak to Astros earlier in the week, and he was very loud about how they had been putting in. I'm gonna put words in his mouth. I'm sorry, dude. You know, I love you. That they'd been putting in a lot more. He thought they'd been putting in a lot more work than most of the other teams. That they had analyzed Nibble. He was up at like 5 a.m. this morning. He made some jokes about how he was focusing on his game. I think he's a liar, but he was very, very loud. Do you think right now he's sitting there going, "Oh, we might have a little bit of a problem"? Or again, as Proxy, I mean, Omnius, they've had an impressive run. Do you think it's also just maybe a little bit of nerves, all the teams getting settled, just trying to find their feet a little bit for game number one? You think it's going to change now in game number two?
Well, yeah, early game jitters are a thing. Sometimes that does happen, and RNG always comes into the conversation when we talk about Battle Royale. So again, they could have found themselves in an unfortunate situation there with WRG, but we'll see if they change it up in game number two. They definitely have the opportunity.
It is game number two. I'm sorry, Astro. Sorry, Omnius. Let's go. Let's just jump right in and everyone will forget what I said.
Okay, launching in for the second game. Yes, and I've got my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, that everything flows smoothly. And what's smooth right now is damage control, controlling the area here at the climatizer. Sentinel in the hand here of the Gibraltar player. Some shots are flying from a bit of an awkward position. You know, I'm kind of surprised that there's actually a player that opted to land towards that side. But for now, it doesn't seem too phased at, you know, the shots coming towards this direction. And as, you know, I actually want to raise an interesting topic to speak about. Because yes, we see ATK winning that first game. You know, and I feel like to no surprise that it has to be between ATK/Nibble to win that game, but obviously Nibble comes in at 10th in that game. And my idea the entire day, right, was which team between Nibble and ATK is more regimented for composition based on just like things like chemistry, how long the teams have been playing together. Because, you know, if you look at Chambi and Dus, they've been playing with each other for a really long time. This is the addition of Krillix is being added in the lobby. But the nice thing about Krillix has always been one of those players that can just adapt to whichever team he's in. If you look in the Middle East African region with ALGS, he's always going up and down with a bunch of teams. So he's always been adaptable. So now Nibble, very fresh off the ball, right? Adding in Tenchi. Are they regimented enough yet to kind of deal with how much pressure is coming in tonight?
Oh, so here we start talking about synergy. Here we start talking about what are they doing behind the scenes to sort of get themselves set up for this sort of a, you know, tournament, get themselves set up for composition. And as you mentioned, that synergy, working on that teamwork, working on those communication, because as we know in Apex Legends, things get absolutely crazy, as you can see with the beams coming through here from Style. So look, yeah, I think HK has more time on their hands in terms of like the history with the roster, but I think ATK definitely, Nibble, sorry, has definitely been putting in the time behind the scenes. And you know, some of them have known each other since, as we mentioned, those Overwatch days. So there might be something that we're not aware of. But looking at this, the Sentinel is in play, and a Wild Octane is just trying to run for cover, trying to run into safety, because these sniper shots definitely can get a handful. Looking at damage control now, they are very happy to take control of this area. Still looking aggressive, still looking for some opportunities here to push their advantage. And I don't blame them. Again, Tendo, coming through from the first game, you want to make sure that your second game, you're starting off with an absolute best foot forward. So I'm keen to see how many teams are actually going to take a more active route this time around, Tendo, than a passive route. What do you think?
Yeah, I think based on how many kills that ATK was able to, you know, scrounge up in that last game, is you're gonna have to be active to kind of keep up and match that energy. You know, during the group stages, I think it was week 2. The topic was always, can you match the energy of what Nibble was bringing into the lobby inside their group? Because that's the only way that you're able to catch up to a team like that. Washed in a bit of a tough spot. They've been landing over here at staging, but Ominous is also a team that is known for landing at that staging area. So I wonder how, you know, the contention might be happening in that situation. Pretty Pink Ponies over here getting themselves involved in a little bit of a fight. And I mean, when we're looking at exactly how the zone was pulling in that situation, we are getting a bit of a contrast, I think, from what we got in that first game here. I feel like it's going to pull a little bit more south side and start to favor a couple of more teams like WRG, actually maybe even looking at where Team Washed is and OG.
Yeah, so I mean that composition, that contrast that comes through with the zone, and I mean especially I was going to mention this, the fact that we actually saw teams dropping towards Climatizer. I don't often see a zone pulling towards that, that northern side towards the right. I normally do see it more towards your left side, your southern side. So it's a bit of a risk, but as it is coming through, of course, you try and take that risk, and here comes the zone coming through, and it's like, I'm going to go south. I know you went north. I'm going to go south this time around. But what is interesting to me, I did see a few players there to at Big Maud. So again, I mentioned this earlier. I'm wondering if we're going to see those absolutely amazing Maud shop guns being crafted and actually involved in the conversation, because I mean just the fact that you can craft your perfect weapon, your especially crafted Rampart style weapon, does mean that some teams are going to be setting themselves up so much better. What are your opinions on those guns coming through, Tendo?
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things. And I think the great thing about Apex Legends is that they always find new and interesting ways to make the maps unique in their own way and style, right? And that's definitely one of the things they've done. I think you can look at King's Canyon with the charge towers, right? Only map with the charge towers, you can't instantly get your ulti on any other map besides that. And it's just one of those things that add to World's Edge and make it such a great map. It can be a little bit broken, I think, those weapons, in the right hands. Obviously, I believe the R301 comes in with 32 rounds, when the standard one with a purple mag would come with only 28. So, it is a little bit of an advantage, but yeah, it's also that whole trials conversation, in terms of where you land trials and you're taking so much time trying to kill all the prowlers and get the prowler loot, that is it really worth farming all of these materials just to get this one gun when you're taking time away from rotations, from potential fights that you could get along the way?
I really don't like trials personally. I find like every single time I finish off with trials, I don't have enough ammo for this, because I missed half of my shots shooting at the prowlers. So now I have to go on another hunt to get my consumables, to get my ammo, to get whatever I needed to do. And yes, exactly that. You spend so much time within that, and if the zone pulls away, it's pulling right now there with the harvester being dead center, it can be a real issue. So sometimes whatever, I don't know, golden backpack you're getting, or maybe even a golden shield, isn't that worth it really, especially not with the care packages, maybe even the loots that you have on this map. And I must say, Tendo, I don't know if you're just as crazy about them as much as I am, but if I see a loot bot, I am chasing it. I absolutely just adore the loot bots. I don't know why.
Yeah, and again, one of those unique things on World's Edge, those loot bots flying around the sky, and sometimes you can be really lucky, hit the gold, get a gold armor, and it's just one of those things that, you have to kind of not really, I want to say prioritize, right? Because it's a little bit of an interesting thing to say, like, hey guys, we've got to make sure we find loot bots flying around and take them down. But it's definitely one of those things that are just garnered and gifted in your rotations when you're able to plot them out quite well and quite fast. Dark Esports, actually quite interesting. Dark Esports, when I was trying to make my predictions tonight, as I looked at Dark Esports and their group stage performance, and it was really good. They came in and out with some good performances and placements, but they never really felt like a heavy hitter for me. That first game, they came second place, right? So now I'm starting to think to myself, all right, are they online? Are they ready? Are they willing to really put in the work to actually get into this conversation of being in the top 4?
It's again coming back to the conversation as well, what we mentioned, group stages are a whole different ball game. Now when you get to these top 20s, now when you're put against what we believe is the best of the best from those group stages, this is where we really see your potential, because now it's 4 games, you have the exact same, composite set of 20 teams in the map with you. So we really get to see what you are capable of when we look at, South Africa, as when we look at this entire tournament as a whole, all the contestants involved, this is the best of the best. So if Dark Esports are putting up numbers to find themselves in second place after the first map, I think after map number 2, we'll be able to tell if, that was just by chance, by luck, or if that is because they've been putting in the work. Again, they've had a week since those group stages, Tendo, to prepare, and we've talked about this, off camera as well. We could be looking at a whole different sets of teams and compositions, and teams that have really changed the way that they're playing the game for this grand final.
Yeah, I think that period of time, that preparation period is really important and crucial in big tournaments like this All-Stars. Fissimus, on the edge here of where Harvester is. And I mean, wow, rotations are great, you know, as I think we've casted and seen a number of Apex Legends events, and I want to throw back to the perspective of the most recent one, the Nodwin finals. And I mean, to see that many teams in the center zone in the Nodwin final, I don't think it was really like this. I think a lot of teams here have kind of upped their game and improved since that time, especially coming in with preseason qualifiers. And speaking of those qualifiers, right, you look at like the likes of ATK and Nibble. I think even Ween Gang was involved in there, in amongst the top 50 in not only the Middle East African region, but in the EMEA region, right, Europe included.
It's exactly that, and they get that experience with it as well. And I mean, we were screaming our lungs out off stream with that comparison, because it means that, you know, since the beginning, since Apex Legends, the scene of Apex Legends, you know, within South Africa has started. Look how we've improved. In the beginning, you know, we were looking at, oh wow, 9 teams in the final zone, that's insane. Now we're looking at the entire lobby still alive when we get to those final moments. We still have 18 teams on the map right now, which means so many teams are congested into such a small area. And again, it's chaos, but it goes to show how they've improved, how they have learned from their mistakes, how they know how to work those rotations, make sure that they have the best possible opportunity to get themselves into those final stretches of the game. And it gets me so excited, because it means there's improvement. It means there's constant improvement. The more improvement, the more competition, the better we get. And those Arc Stars are looking crazy from Ween Gang going through, and they are looking for the aggression here. They are looking for that team wipe. They want those kill points and get themselves set. The team's coming through here with a flat line. Viaz, we know him. The John Wick himself is here to take some names, take some numbers, and get those kill points for his team. For the time being, though, a lot more coming through. Real One's only not looking as healthy as they would have loved to be. Russo, the only member alive at the moment, with the rest of his team knocked, and unfortunately a little bit afraid right now. It could pop the res through here for the Bloodhound and hopefully reset, but keeping that head on a swivel, Tendo. You never know who's around the corner.
Oh, man, I mean, look at that zone, as it is stacked. 17 squads still up in this one. Ween Gang find themselves having to make a short rotation into the next zone. They do know that Real One only is still down in that spot, and I actually think they're getting shot from a team just opposite as well. So yeah, Real One's only in a really tough spot. 20 popping in the kill feed here and there. I see Team Wash, who actually failed to get any kills in the previous match, which is quite interesting based off their position, right? As you kind of thought, and when we were speaking, you know, making our assumptions of what happened, that they would actually be able to capitalize quite well based on their spot and their position in that game, but they weren't even able to capitalize off some kills.
It's again finding that balance. If you're not capitalizing on those kills, as you mentioned, it's a detriment. I mean, ATK picking up those 16 kill points, 16 eliminations in one game means that not only with, you know, just the kill points, but also with their amazing placement points, they pick up those 28 points, and that really sets themselves up. When you look at that redeployment coming through, Omnius Gaming just trying to get some knocks on there, trying to get some shots going through. 14 teams still on this lobby, and look at the chaos that is on that minimap right now. Are we hitting senti shots with redeployments? Are we really hitting people out of the sky here, Tendo?
I think they're ready to. What's that game? You know, when you're that shooter shooting ducks out of the shooting ducks out of the sky. Kind of seems like is what's going on over there. I mean, it makes sense. So many Valkyries in the lobby. Everyone's going to be flying in and out. And actually, it's great that we're getting a glimpse at Visimus, which I thought was quite an interesting, you know, change up in how the roster is. They have a Nai, you know, from JSN. And I mean, if we remember how JSN was playing during the Nodwin finals, as they were really good. And I mean, accompanied with Neo, who in his own right is a bit of a veteran in the scene, going up and down, playing, you know, comp after comp, trying to improve himself. I think that team can do really good, as long as, you know, they can clear their comms and make sure that everything is working out well for them. Another redeploy coming in here. Ominous Gaming now gonna make this big reposition coming in. And there's a lot of squads in the area, so they really gotta be able to plot it out. But you gotta love Valkyrie with this information that they're getting. They know exactly where they'll be safe, and look at that, find a nice little spot to be in.
Probably the only building within that zone that is not occupied with teams right now, and it absolutely is such such a blessing to sort of have that opportunity to escape when you need to, or to reposition when you need to, especially if you're not finding yourself in the best angle here, you're not finding yourself in the best pathing to take on this final zone. 13 squads left alive, so I do think exactly what we were talking about, it's staying a little bit more active. That's exactly what's happening here in game number 2. You know, the comparison, we had 18 in one of these final zones from game 1. Now we're looking at 13, and it looks like a lot more teams are dropping, unfortunately, but it means that teams are picking up those kill points. It means that they are climbing that leaderboard, if not bit by bit, they are making it happen. So as we take a look at it, hopefully we should be seeing a few of these teams reset themselves and get into a better position. ATK in the competition. You cannot be doing that with an Oxar coming through, Chambi. Man, oh man, beaming left, right, and center. And don't worry, there's more nades to be throwing into this party right now, but they do need to be careful, because when we talk about the chaos of these 13 squads in the final zone, we talk about the crossfires. As soon as you want to try and push onto some sort of an angle, some sort of a team, and finally get that confirmation, you're going to be looking at so many other teams who want to do the exact same thing.
And actually, you know, looking at the kill feed, I was actually about to mention WRG went out quite early. I actually caught that glimpse in the kill feed. OG's down for the count as well. Ackerman picking up a couple of kills. So now all these teams on these rotations is starting to get a little bit crammed, and everyone's stacked on top of each other. ATK still in a good spot to kind of make these micro decisions on whether or not they want to hold out this team, and I believe that has to be Nibble based on just the position they were last seen in. So this might be a big, you know, top 2 fight in its own regard, Nibble versus ATK. And I actually love ATK's combination of legends tonight, right? You know, I think they're coming in as that contrast team that is kind of reading the lobby, that everybody's going to be playing this repositioning play and playing to hold positions, whereas they are really aggressive and they're information gathering, but they can still be defensive in their own regard, right? Gibraltar coming in at that, and the push is made on top of the car. The shots are flying through here from Krillix, doesn't connect for too much damage, and I'm not too sure what's going on with Gutbuster. Chenchi slides on into the Mastiff of Krillix, and he goes down, and I don't know what is going on here, guys. Wow, nothing really that ATK cannot not do at this point, right? Just based on how they're playing. Swinging again, Krillix, he's holding off, he has to drop down, really weak. One's knocked on the side of ATK, so yeah, that fight, it was an interesting one, I think, there is, right? Because you get into that fight, and I think Nibble has to make it balls in, all in play, right? Where they have to make it happen, and Krillix here is just gonna go down. And
oh no!
Unfortunately, edge of zone, so many teams fighting. Yeah, man, it was actually kind of hectic just based on that.
So, I mean, did we just see Nibble and ATK get taken out within a matter of seconds? The top 2 that we've been talking about since the beginning, we might not be seeing them. I know ATK is out. I'm not sure if I saw, you know, the remainder there of Nibble going out, but again, I mean, to see that one-on-one, you know, with our top 2 teams that we've been talking about, to have that happen and then have it end like that because of the zone, it hurts me, but we're going to be going and taking a look at the rest of the top 9 that are still alive and still in this to win game number 2 of the Apex Legends All-Stars. Oh, Tendo, it was chaos.
It was chaos. I mean, I was at a little bit of loss of words, right? You know, of course, a lot of Apex Legends, and the push that Nibble made onto ATK was quite interesting. I kind of saw what they were trying to do by getting that high ground, but it didn't work out in their favor. But Vibin, in a bit of a tough spot back against the wall here. They don't have the option to reposition, obviously, right? They don't have the Valkyrie, so they're bound to having to make this rotation on foot. And once again, we see Team Washed in a really good spot, playing zones well. Shots flying from Dyer, but Dyer gets some shots exchanged, and it's gonna have to back off just for a little bit before he takes a couple more shots. And Longbow is just one of those weapons that does so much damage, but the only issue is you have to be really, really good at it, right?
Yeah, look, the bullet drop that you have to work with, something again I've never touched in my life is snipers in Apex Legends. They are so just unique in the sense that you have, every single sniper has its own sort of ability, sort of, you know, personality, if you can talk with that, and you really need to be a master of it all. But I mean, to have that long range capability, to be able to pick off that damage. You know, he's not necessarily working with a purple shield here, but a gold shield and a couple of pot shots does mean that they are just putting in that damage just to really annoy the teams that are trying to rotate into safety here. I do see INV taking up Visimus in the kill feed, so unfortunately it does seem like we are down a few more squads that we were looking out for, down to 7. 18 players alive in this one, and now some of the teams have to get themselves prepped and ready for this absolute carnage that's going to happen here towards the edge of Harvester. A zone with a lot of angles and a lot of opportunities for some teams to find themselves in an unfortunate situation. We can look at Dark Esports as one of those examples in the gas, in the absolute chaos coming through. Here it is, Ween coming through and finding those knocks. Dark Esports out for the counts. I can't believe we're looking at it now. And again, I talked about it. Harvester, it's a little bit awkward because there's so many nooks and crannies you could be finding those teams. And I mean, to have a little bit of information with this crypto drone right now, again, they could be hiding within the building. You'll never know it.
That is actually vibing, and based on the position that we saw them, they're sitting underneath the stairs, and I love that super sports angle that we're getting there, you know, from vibing. So shout out to them for giving us just a little bit of an overview, and good for them as well, right? Because they're getting all that information and finding out exactly how the lobby's playing out. DSG down to only one member, actually Idamino, who was on the likes of, I think, what's the Ephesians? Doing the knife throwdown, and is quite a versatile player. Caught out in a bit of an awkward position, has to actually go into the zone, slides out, survives for now. Oh, look at Like a Luke. Well, Fun is already down, but Like a Luke comes in with the beams, gets a big crack. Here comes the Eva 8. The shots are connecting, but not finding the knock, and the entire team is pushing onto him, and there's nothing he can do, and Vibing is out just like that. INV is playing this one to a T, and they're playing well as a team, and it's INV, with one of these teams that we really didn't see here as that could be a really big heavy hitter coming into this one. They can get the rest onto Seti. They have so much control of the zone. They have the high ground, and here, right now, the Wraith player taking up some shots with the vault, I mean the Alt 3-1. Wow, where is my head right now? It is lost in the chaos that's happening in this game.
I mean, you're going for the energy weapons, you're going for the absolute energy that these teams are giving us right now. Top 4 teams left in this final zone. The bombardment's coming through, and you can thank your stars for those Gibby shields right now, because if they weren't there, you might be finding yourselves waiting in the lobby, waiting for what the result of this game 2 is going to give us. Were we witnessing a Wraith attempt to get that thing? I think I saw a portal, I think I saw a little bit of a shot coming through, but either way, we are down to the top 3, and now here is where the chaos ensues, because now the teams, they actually have to push out of this. Idamino still playing the rat game for Dark Esports, still alive in this, and now just waiting for that final team to go out. We find ourselves in a 1v3 situation. Idamino now trying to hold on to Dark Esports. Can't be doing it though. You've got 3 players shooting at you left, right, and center, and I can't see how he's still alive. How is he still alive?
Somehow Lemons is doing a madness, dude. He's alive and clutches it for the team. Team washed out of nowhere, holding such a great position. And I spoke about it at the top of Harvester. They played that 3v3 to perfection, even after taking out that solo that could have been such a big issue for them. And you love to see it. And you know, as when I was making these predictions earlier today, right, I looked at Team Washed, and it's, you know, it's Dyer, it's Wiso, it's the Lemons, you know, signed to Bravado as a streamer, up and comer. He's really cracked at Apex Legends. Dyer as well, great at FPS games. And then Wiso, the retired member of ATK. That team gelled together quite well during the group stages, and that is exactly what we witnessed happening. I mean, Sam, I don't even know where to go with what happened in that game right there. It was just so crazy.
There's so many things, but I want to just mention with Washed, and specifically Washed and Dark Esports. So remember, they finished 2nd and 4th on the leaderboard after game 1. They've now got themselves top placements again. It's just, all of this must just be gone, because none of my notes matter. Washed and Dark Esports, I mean, it's all just changed. That ATK Nibble fight, that was the turning point. Tendo, should that have happened? I mean, obviously ATK was being aggressive, but taking each other out like that, I mean, they've just opened it up to everyone else.
Yeah, and I think if ATK survives and makes it a little bit further into that end game, then we're still kind of in this ATK era and this ATK storyline, right? Where it's like, yeah, ATK is probably looking good for the entirety of the day, but they go out to Nibble, who are kind of now plunging themselves into a deeper and deeper pit that they have to dig themselves out coming into these next two games. And I think it's just one of those things where some decision making was quite off coming in from them. And wouldn't it be the biggest surprise? You know, I think ATK's won their game already, so let's shy away from that. But wouldn't it be the biggest surprise that we've hyped up this entire time? Oh, Nibble versus ATK. Oh, this is the storyline for the day. You know, in the prep period, we were talking about us getting all of these, you know, these dial ups on what's going to happen. And then they just come onto the day and this is what's going on. They're unable to perform and it just goes on and on and on and on. For now, we can't see that for ATK, but Nibble, I'm getting a little bit worried.
I'm getting a little bit worried too, but I think that is really what you want to focus on. ATK has been the dominant team for so long that is the team in Apex Legends that you want to focus on. Coming into this, all the other teams were saying this is Nibble's day. Nibble's going to topple ATK off the top. And we're going to pull up the leaderboard now, but I mean, maybe we should have been talking about Washed. Not quite enough to catch up with ATK, but take a look. They've been able to close that gap considerably.
I mean, 5 points away from that first place. Absolutely, such a closer. And if we look at it, you know, again, I'm still trying to rack my head around what happened in that final zone, but the shots were hitting, and absolutely a beautiful performance coming through from Watched. And a few of the other teams that we're looking at, again, it's completely throwing what we thought we were going to be talking about tonight out of the window. As you mentioned, notes out of the window. I'm going to delete mine after this as well, because clearly I was not on the right path. But this is the beauty of Apex Legends. This is the beauty of Battle Royale, is there's always a surprise waiting for you.
I do kind of want my notes back because I wrote a lot down during the game, but I'll have to get those during the break. Another team though, I mean, Nibble's now in 15. They're gonna have to win a game. That's what I'm going to say. It's Nibble. If you don't win, best believe you're going home with nothing. But a team that could potentially go home with something, Ween Gang, we mentioned them earlier on. A lot of people tweeting me about them as well. They were, after the first game, we're in 5th. They've been able to move themselves up a spot. So maybe a team that, you know, 4 games, just quietly knock the teams as they go and they could end up on top. What do you think about them?
Consistency is key. So for me, if Weengan can once again, you know, perfect that sort of performance going through, as you mentioned, just slowly but surely knocking off those players off of the leaderboard, then absolutely. I mean, again, you know, we mentioned a little bit about JSN. We mentioned a little bit about some of these players, you know, filtering in. The teams that won in previous competitions were the teams staying consistent. It wasn't the teams that were coming out with these amazing one-time games. Wow. It was the team staying consistent, picking up those points without. We've got 2 more games left. They have 2 more opportunities. Same can be said for all the teams. But if you're not staying consistent, you might not be going anywhere.
Halfway through the Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Finals, ATK is still sitting on top, but the gap is closing. Nibble, the team we thought would knock them off, has dropped all the way to 15th, and a bunch of new teams popping up. I did say to you that if we got to 220 concurrents, Tendo would do a little fashion show for us. You did me proud. Tendo, take us into the break. Do a little dance, shake a little bum, walk up and down. Come on, you got this. You got this.
All right, if the audience requests, you know,
It's me now. Sorry, look at my face of me watching Tendo. That was just a special something. Hey, look at that. It's not just me. Are we just gonna watch me reacting to everything you can't see? You got a little taste of it. Also, I have been another request has been made, so maybe we can pull the casters up because I want to see her face when I do this. Before we do the go into the break, I have had a request. If we hit 300 concurrents, is Proxy will play the guitar behind her. I mean, I don't know if she will, but I've just said she will. So there you go. We're going to go to a break. They're never going to work with me again. We'll see you in a bit. I mean, Tendo plays OnlyFans when, right? Anyone else thinking that? Welcome back to the Apex Legend All-Stars Grand Finals. 100,000 rand in prizes up for grabs. 20 of South Africa's best Apex Legends teams battling it out. The biggest tournament for this title that we've seen in South Africa. And it's been interesting. We were hyping up ATK and Nibble Esports as the two teams to watch, the teams that would fight it out. Nibble currently sitting in 15th. They are struggling. ATK is in the top spot, but the gap is closing. It's going to get interesting. We have so many giveaways because you know how our All-Star Gaming works. They're all about giving to the community. South African esports, South African gaming, they're building. They want to support. They want to grow the scene and they want to help you out as well. So we got a sneaky little gift voucher for Incredible Connection up for grabs, 1,000 rand. All you need to do is head on over to the Incredible Connection website and tweet a screenshot of what you'd use the voucher to buy and then post it on Twitter. Make sure you tag Incredible Connection and Metal State. Use the hashtag ICAllStarGaming. Remember as well, if we hit 300 concurrents, Proxy's agreed to play her guitar for us. So just get tweeting, get everyone to come watch. More importantly, like it's fun that we're doing Tendo fashion shows and Proxy playing guitar and me just being the puppet master. But what we really want to do is make sure that we get as many eyeballs as possible on these grand finals, on that final game, so we can showcase what South Africa has to offer when it comes to Apex Legends. Some of the teams that we've had a chance to see play, we've seen some big names. Tendo's mentioned some of the streamers. I want to have a little fun now. You did some CSGO damage control. For someone in the chat, you know, who isn't a boomer, who is damage control? Why should we care about this team?
So, I mean, damage control was sort of like, you know, your starting point when it came to real competitive CSGO action. Back in the days, if you could beat damage control, that was a really good indication that you as a team had a really good shot at, you know, basically playing it with the best.
The thing about damage control, right, is they are playing in this Apex Legends tournament. Three of the players, their three players in their Apex team are three of the most celebrated CSGO players South Africa has ever seen. They are historic, they are legendary, and also it turns out that with their old age, I think they're struggling a little bit because Apex Legends is quite a fast game, and they are currently sitting second last. So I'm a bit worried, boys. You are quite old. She sets it up. She hits it out the park. She never gets to speak to them again. Let's be serious. Tendo, are you worried about ATK? I mean, should they be worried about Washed? I think for me, Washed, Dark, and Ween have had two consistent games. Ez spoke about it earlier. Be consistent. ATK needs to fix this for game number 3 if they want to keep that top spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I think ATK is definitely going to have to fix things up, right? You know, we can't have a situation like we had last game where they find themselves against the zone and they're not really making good decisions on their rotations and they're caught in these really awkward fights. I think 36 points that they're sitting at the top is not a lot of points, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you know, based especially on like how the group stage games were going, right? For a lot of these teams, that is still almost just like one game from any of these 10, like the top 10. They can catch up to where their spot is, you know, especially if they can put in the same amount of numbers that they did from that first game.
We're going to have to see. We're halfway through the competition. Can ATK stay on top? Can Nibble make a miracle? I mean, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that in chat. Let's get into game.
Tango spotted.
All right. The
Check out this way.
overarching storyline of this game 3 here is what Sam left us with. Can Nibble make a miracle? It's kind of sounds like a hashtag, to be honest with you. I think we should maybe start it that for just to give them a little bit more energy coming into this one. But drop spots seem to be unchanged for the most part, where everybody's landing.
Hashtag can Nibble make a miracle. I mean, hey, I'm liking it. I feel like, you know, users should be heading right over to Twitter. Also, make sure you're using that hashtag ICAllStarGaming, letting us know, keep us in the conversation. And again, be here for all the chaos that Tickle is planning to bring. Looking at it now, White Rabbit, Rexu already down and dusted. Those Hellstars coming through. And actually from Lemons, from the team of Washed. So if they're involved in this conversation, then you have to be talking about the absolute carnage that we saw in that previous game. Dire here once again doing beaming things, trying to take teams out and trying to solidify themselves a little bit of room to work with here. It's, I mean, literally, we have just started this map and we're already down to 18 teams. If you were waiting for action, here is the action started. We've got teams dropping, we've got players absolutely just popping off left, right, and center. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far, Tender, because it means these teams, they are here for it. They are here to get as many points as they possibly can.
Project Rise seem to be under a little bit of stress as well. They're landing here at staging. Daddy Cool. That's taking up a lot of damage. Back up. Just run with the vault. I mean, why am I getting my energy weapons mixed up today? Or just weapons in general? It's quite interesting. But Magistron's gonna have to back away and pops a Phoenix Kid. The Havoc didn't do as much damage. Does have that turbocharger on it. And they're gonna have to just be very careful. And Washed has surprised me tonight, because when I was making these predictions, I knew that Washed was a team to look out for. But that's why I kind of put them as a wild card, because I really just thought that it really depends on how they come into, you know, the games today. And they've definitely come in ready to fight, ready to make the action happen. And now they're in this conversation of being in that top 4. And yeah, it's weird today. I think all the teams that we were banking on performing well, like WRG, for example, going out early, just Lone is left straggling around. Ominous is also a little bit shaky. Fighting, not too bad thus far. Project Rise as well. But all these big teams, you know, these organizations are maybe feeling the pressure tonight.
Yeah, and again, we then start thinking, okay, but what happened in the group stages? Why are we seeing this now? And it's grand finals time. We have the top 20 out of all of the teams that have entered the All-Stars, tournament here coming through. And now they are here to show off what they have. What do you got? What do you have to show us today? And it's all the work that they've been putting in, and they've had a week to get better at those beams. Tenchi, we were talking about Nibble. We were talking about this man in particular right here. Tenchi, shame. He's done his best to try and give me some Apex tips. I cannot get as even marginally close as good as Tenchi can, because this man, an absolute beast, an absolute master at what he does, has been putting in so much time in the game, has so much experience, and we've talked about Tenchi before, Tendo. We've talked about Tenchi, you know, in the DNMK roster that really, really showed a dominating performance, and I'm hyping him up for nothing because
cursing.
Magic coming through with the vault. Tendo, please take it away. I don't want to cast a curse no more.
I feel like is hyping Tenchi up right there, guys. You know, kind of just made that happen to put Tenchi. Now, Nibble in a really tough spot. Gutbuster and 20 now need to make something happen, and this is kind of detrimental. This is the 3rd game of this 4-game series, right? And if they can't find any points in this game, then yeah, Nibble's gonna need a miracle at the end to kind of make this happen. The ulti's pop from 20, scan comes through, gets a little bit of information. It's looking like everything's slowing down just a little bit in this fight. And odds are they're gonna camp that banner, hey, right? I mean, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna wait until it is all over for Tenchi to get back into this one. Either Gutbuster and 20 need to get a really good knock here to maybe opening it up, and or just opt to rotate out and try play as a 2-man.
I agree with you. I mean, if you can take someone like Tenchi out of the count for sure, make sure that he's not involved in game 3, especially, you know, to back up the likes of 20 and Gutbuster, then it's an absolute advantage as we take a look at it. And Dark Esports, you know, another team that's oh no, another team that's pulling up on this action, Tendo. Are they going to be joining the chaos here that we've just seen? I mean, Nibble's still, you know, waiting for that opportunity to get, you know, the Tenchi banner, but now Dark Esports might have something to say about it.
Dark Esports encroaching slowly. Know that there's teams in front of them. For now, can't see anything here, Predator. They're gonna hold up the spot. Actually, the fights are breaking loose quite deep into where it's at. It's actually ATK, and ATK, yeah, they've just wiped out Nibble, and the ATK and Nibble story is definitely happening, but not quite in the way that we imagined here, I think, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, right? It's actually Nibble bringing, or rather ATK bringing the fight to Nibble, and Nibble's unable to match that energy. Now, Dark to get involved. They're gonna take the jump pad in, and ATK's in here. They might be weak from the fight. The gas is popped as well, and Predator R301 in hand. tries to deal a little bit of damage with it, trying to pop on over the the Mozambique gets the knock, and they're just taking down actually what seems to be the team of the Ponies. So ATK have moved on from this situation. Ponies are somehow here. Dark Esports capitalizing and thriving over what's going on and getting all of these kill points. Actually seeing Nine getting a knock on top of Machine. So everybody's pulling towards where the zone is at. The guys are making these rotations, and I feel like fights are just going to start stacking on top of each other and stacking and stacking. But now, Ween Gang lurking in the area, just waiting for opportunity. Some shots are actually flying through here from Bradley.
I do have to mention, you know, round one is still closing. That first zone's still closing, and we're down to 15 teams again. I have to mention the fact that we're picking up the pace so quickly from game one all the way now into game three. This grand finals is just heating up for everyone watching at home. The chaos, the action, the spice is getting ready, and it's going to be such a tasty meal to witness as we look at that beacon coming through. Looks like the zone pulling a little bit more towards guys, and maybe even actually just excluding basically Big Mord and a little bit of lava siphon there. So some of the teams already within that zone quite happily sitting there and waiting for those rotations to come through. And for the rest, for the likes of Ween Gaming, they're sitting here waiting for an opportunity to take a few knocks themselves, to take a few kill points, of course, as we know, to steadily climb that leaderboard. The conversation has to start here because I feel like we're at that pivotal moment. We're going to be seeing who's going to be the teams that are going to stay in that conversation for, of course, that insane prize pool, or who is going to be jumping out. But a Spitfire to be thrown into the mix. Oh, Tendo, a Spitfire, I mean, I see that and I just get excited. I'm not personally a Kraber, you know, aficionado myself, but a Spitfire, an absolute beam and a dream.
Yeah, Spitfire, you know, moving to the care package was definitely a good call. You know, based on how powerful it can be in the right hands. Nates is just getting chucked in here, and Dark Esports just tanking it. And hopefully that damage isn't enough for this team to try and make initiations. But it's actually just a solo. It's Jazz! And Jazz is just doing a madness here with the nades. He's looking to slide on in, even 8 in the hand. But damage taken. It doesn't look like he wants to really get involved. He's actually going to opt to rotate out of this one. And he's playing solos, so I mean it makes sense, right? Coming into that, it might not be able to funnel all of them and get the knocks that he's looking for, but teams are definitely making their way towards this area where the zone is going to be pulling. And I mean, yeah, hey, guys, the zones are really tragic to deal with. You know, there's buildings, there's a lot of open ground as well, so we're just hoping that a lot of these teams are really making some good decisions in terms of where they want to position themselves.
I mean, as a solo to be on that Wraith character, I mean, we've seen what solo Wraiths can do before, Tendo, and it's an absolute madness, as you would mention. So I think best possible character you could be ratting it up for your team, definitely there. Or that bombardment gets to give a little bit of space, but you have to be ready for a wilding Valkyrie trying to jump into the building with you, but now it's fine. He's got the portal to get on out of there, but it's just absolute chaos as we're looking at in the kill feed. We actually are seeing Washed and Ween going at each other. If those two teams take each other out, then Tendo, I don't know where we're going to be taking that conversation. Who are we going to be looking at that leaderboard?
Yeah, everything on the leaderboard right now is looking very shaky, right? And what we didn't touch upon, this being the halfway point, and a lot of teams having to kind of make these plays that are kind of all in to some extent, and just trying to swap around a little bit of their strategies and their play styles, and that's exactly what we're getting to see here. And on top of that, obviously the zone is really not favorable for a lot of teams. I don't really like Geyser endings because of how hard it is to find a spot to play in, and for a lot of teams to make rotations. A couple of teams on that north side need to start working their way up. I actually see Project Rise still involved there. Ween Gang seems to be fine just for now. And Vibing's in the conversation. Vibing's here. Vibing's making their way in. And I mean, hey, Vibing sitting 6th place right now is they can really capitalize off this game just based on the fact that a real heavy hitter in the form of Nibbles already down for the count. Not too sure what's happening with ATK, what's happening in their camp. All right, Alphonse fight. I'm surprised that gas didn't go off behind him, right? Like, I thought it was gonna go off.
You know, sitting there, I was like, listen, is there something about caustic traps that I am not aware of? How you make this happen? It could just be, you know, the luck of Wraith as we look at it. But again, we're back to this exact same position. I feel like we've had so much action, so much chaos happen in exactly this one little spot. just, you know, outside of Fragment, just to the side of Harvester. And now again, because of the action and because of the way that that zone's been pulling, we are seeing it once again. 6ix9ine Kings, another team that we haven't had an opportunity to actually look at. I mean, with 14 squads left, those rotations once again going to be happening, and all the teams, I can't believe how close they are. They're literally rubbing shoulders right now with those rotations coming through. Project Rise still in the conversation. Happy to see them here, but they might be running into the likes of ATK. And talking about ATK, Tendo, here they are. Some of the teams we are waiting to see. Is it particularly these guys? We want to see if they're going to be picking up those points in game number 3.
So far, so good for ATK. They're being really active, fishing a lot of kills, and they're in a good spot to keep a team. And the beams are coming through, and the Queel goes down on the side of Punks. That's Punks who connects against the wall, playing on the edge of the zone. And they Shambi once again, shredding like paper. And now ATK making a move to try to get an angle here as the full team swings towards the right-hand side. Shambi gets kill leader, so ATK is definitely dominating the lobby. The shots come in, but for now, Punk is holding off a little bit, even after that first knock. And every time Shambi aims at somebody, he is absolutely destroying them. I mean, damn.
It's exactly that.
Oh no! He's making this creepy.
And I absolutely adore them for it, because as I was mentioning, the ammo is looking a little bit low, consumables looking a little bit low. They need to get some resources, and the best way that they can do that is by getting this team wipe coming through. The beams are still continuing from none other than Shambi. He is ready. He's sitting in Octane. I've seen what this Octane can do before. I've seen him bounce between teams left, right, and center, and now with the 8 in hand, it is not looking good for Project Rise. Of all teams to be taken out, I was worried that they were going to be running into ATK, and I think my worry was well placed. We turned back our attention to DSG, who once again also finding themselves in an unfortunate situation. Idomino, the rat from the previous game, unfortunately not involved in this one, and Clutch and Nando Grosov are gonna have to pick up slack here and try and hold on to this. We've got 11 squads still alive, Tendo, and my goodness, I am taking breaths where I can because the chaos is just starting.
There's just so much action happening everywhere that God kind of keep track. And the door breaks and the rampage from HH comes in. And I feel like Tech Girl is watching this right now, seeing damage control through an absolute madness. And she regrets what she says, but just wait. There's a Clutch coming in from Clutch, gets a knock with the Mozambique, but the rest of the team's actually going to slide on in and try and finish it off. Rez is actually going to get... But there's a knock that happens, and now this Rez is a little bit questionable. One of the players is going to have to slide in to try and make things work for them. It looks like Mio's actually coming back in here. And Vistamists are looking to clean up damage control. And they're down. They are out of this one now. And actually, never mind. I guess Tegro was right.
Yeah, just the Knights of Castles Coast Center. What are we doing? What happened? Why have we done this? Look, oh Alpha, why have you done this? Down to half HP, shields completely not in the conversation. Need to be careful. I mean, so many teams popping off right now. Every single player on this lobby, I feel, just has that potential to absolutely make me breathless. You can see still a remaining member there of iEnvy moving on in. Vistamists as well, joining the conversation. WRG, of course, Lone still in this one, still ratting it out for the teams staying into this conversation and hopefully picking up those placement points that I definitely think, you know, are going to be helpful. Whether or not that's going to be enough for teams like, you know, WRG to climb that leaderboard, I'm not sure, Tendo. I feel like we're getting to that point where some of the teams, I don't know, what's the best situation they can look at here?
Win the game at that point, right? I think a lot of these top teams are gonna have to just come into that fourth game like, yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to win, guys, and that's the only way we can really make something happen, because the consistency, unlike ATK, who have been quite consistent tonight, is not really showing for a lot of these teams. And what I'm actually seeing is who's hungry, right? Because sometimes when you're sitting at the top, you start to get full. You know what I'm talking about. You start to enjoy your time all the way at the tippy top, and a lot of these other teams that aren't really in that conversation start to become a little bit more hungrier than you. Besides ATK, obviously. ATK is still in this one. Does Devotion in his hand is still in this one. ATK controlling a really good spot in this next zone as well. They have so much control of what is happening and understanding exactly where teams are going to be positioned and what kind of rotations are coming out. I feel like this might be another 80k win just based on how well they've been playing thus far.
Absolutely, and I mean, with the position coming through, when that zone closes off, they don't really need to worry about what's coming up behind them, but they have a little bit of cover to work with here, of course. I mean, we were talking about 80k, you know, sort of that team that really sits to the tradition of Apex Legends. They have, you know, the Bloodhound, Gibraltar, Octane meta. They're not really focusing on that Valkyrie Caustic sort of composition. Instead, they're staying to the classics, and I really love that because, I mean, it's such a fantastic, you know, composition still after all the changes that happened with Season 10. But I mean, speaking about some composition changes, those cryptos coming through, and now the bombardment joining the conversation with the beams still ready and locked and loaded. But for the time being, it's just holding on to whatever position they can. It looks like 80k will be falling off from this one just for the moment, not giving up their position at all. But they do need to be aware of those flags coming through, and those Valkyries are an absolute nuisance to deal with sometimes. I mean, just the fact that she can drop, you know, those rockets, stunning your opponents, just making it so much more difficult to get into a fight, get into a conversation. It gets really rough. And 80k, I mean, surely they are looking ready for this one, still active, still ready to take the fight.
Yeah, they're just gonna gatekeep this team that's just caught on the edge of the zone. And or they go down. Yeah, they did go down to dust. I was a bit confused on what happened there. It looked quite interesting. But for now, everything is calm in the zone. Dark Esports. And the one thing about Dark Esports, which I loved during the group stages, was they were a team that actually prioritized rotations and positioning. You know, they definitely are good at their gunfights here and there when they do get into them, but they're so good at rotations and just finding spots in the zone where they can find it fun. And right here is one of those spots where they can just see exactly where every team is, exactly where they can go. And the shots are coming through from Nas, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? We come into this grand final and we're like, yeah, Nibble, 80k, they can really be these heavy hitters that are going to win things up. But anybody really has that pop-up potential. Chambi needs to be careful. Takes a lot of damage. Going to hide behind the rock to pop this bat. 80k have so much control over this next zone. They have a lot of cover to work with as well. So they're shaping and shipping up to win this one for themselves and really start to get this distance, this gap that they really need coming into that final game.
Absolutely still in the conversation. Top 6 teams left for game 3. And at this moment in time, I can't really call it. 80k have been put under pressure after pressure after pressure. Now, Dark Esports actually rolling up on VSMS Gaming here. So here's another aspect that we have not really been focusing on. VSMS Gaming also, as we mentioned, you know, some heavy hitters on that team, and against the likes of Dark Esports, I'm really curious to see where this one's going to pan out, because they probably have to go through one another to try and get into a good position. Viben's still on the map, still here living it out, trying to hold on to whatever they can. And I saw Vias going out there for Ween Esports. Not sure if that is the entirety of Ween out for the count, but top 5, here we are. And it still looks like Vibe and Esports have found the potential next victim. Looking at where they can. I don't even know how Alphon is finding these outliers. 80k, Chambi going down, Ali going down, Neo going down. What is happening? Kill feed left, right, and center. There's so much action right now, and if it's the 80k versus Vibe and showdown, I don't know which way it's going to be going, because the action is still continuing, Tendo. We cannot be seeing 80k go out here, surely. What is happening?
But Krillix does go down to the hands of Dizzy, and now they're going to be using that ultimate from the Caustic, and they're just an outlying player on the edge over there that Alphon finds and takes them down. And now Vibing Esports are looking to ship up and shape up to win this one. The shots are flying left, right, and center. They're looking to push this. They take the one down. There's still one member up on this team that is still somewhere behind the rock. And here's Alphon, Eva 8 in hand. Slaps him, beats him down. Can't really do much. That's 80k going down out of this one. And now, Dark Esports are in this conversation, I believe, between Vibin and what is exactly going to happen. It's level 83, but the high ground, you're not watching it. There's someone on top of it. Like a Luke goes down to minimal HP. He's going to try pop a bat. His team has to watch. The dome is so clutch in this situation, garnering them just a little bit of room to breathe. Two teams who will come up on top. This win right here will be really big for Vibing. It will propel them all the way to the top of the leaderboard. And they're climbing up on top of them. They're taking the fight to them. They want to get this high ground. This player in Valkyrie's trying to fly left, right, and center to try to find a spot, but it's not enough. Decimator gets decimated, unfortunately. Look at Alphon, he has no HP. The JV players climbing up to try and do something, but Vibing are just holding it down. They're holding the fort, and it's one more to fight. What can you even do? And Vibing win it out.
Vibin coming
Wow. I mean, so what I found really interesting here was the way Vibin handled that final fight. Is that so normally in those final battles, what you'll see is this chaos, right? And there's an increase of pace, and there's a lot of that. They slowed right down, and that's something that you see like at an international level. They just slowed right down and went, we wait. And is a fantastic performance from them.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't call it. There were so many teams pulling up on ATK. We thought ATK had the best position there, but they just kept getting pressured. They kept getting, unfortunately, falling victim to those flanking teams trying to get, a position for their own. And now Vibin Esports from the out of nowhere, from the corner of our eye, they come running in, and with such a calm and composed plan, they made it work. They really made it work. And I think it came down to the fact that, they had that plan. They knew exactly what they needed to do. Comms were clear, and they just executed it perfectly.
Well, what's interesting with Vibin is they've been sitting in the top 6. So we've got the scoreboard. Let's see where this pushes them up. There's 4 teams that I want to bring to your attention, and they're pretty much all sitting there. But I mean, so ATK, still, they were able to get quite a few eliminations. We'll talk about them in a bit. They keep that top spot. Vibin's now pushed themselves right up to 2nd. Washed in 3rd. Ween Gang's dropped down, but Ween Gang and Dark, I mean, for me, the teams to watch now, if I'm honest, Dark, Washed, and Vibin, and ATK, possibly Ween is an upset. Tendo, for me, those are now the 4 teams. As we move into the final game, I mean, these are the teams that I think are going to be fighting for that prize pool.
Yeah, I think so, definitely, right? But hey, guys, in Apex Legends, sometimes that final game is really where teams burst to life and they can make something happen, right? I mean, like you said, they go from 6th place all the way to 2nd place, and that's just how, it can work out for you in the long run. And I think that's why I put Vibing on one of those teams to watch out for. I just was hoping that they come into this one. Like you said, they played that well, where you could see them, they stopped. They thought to themselves, all right, let's wait. And you can see the intelligence coming in from Vibing because they're using crypto, unlike any other team inside the lobby. And it's kind of like that rehearsal and that studying of what's going on in the lobby that I think is really helping them out right now.
What I also thought was really impressive was just how ATK played that entire game. I do think that they are the team. I'm going to say it. I think that they're going to take this because watching their performance, they are so aggressive, but in a really smart, tactical way. Really impressive, Tendo. They set themselves up so well. The experience shines through. And I think it's going to be difficult to get them out of that top spot as we move into game number 4. Unless someone does something horrible, like hot drops on them or tries to consider. I just honestly am so impressed by their performance. And there's so many little things about that team, but the big thing for them, and possibly they should ensure his hands, Chambi, what a player, right?
Yeah, Chambi is, one of the best players, right? And I'm gonna actually just touch on the fact that it's the regimenting of just them playing countless scrims together that I think is helping them out here. And that's what I was worried about with Nibble, that are they regimented enough, especially in such a high pressure situation? Because that roster hasn't been in a spot where they have to play for this amount of money to this extent, right? Just yet. But ATK has done that multiple times in ALGS already, right? So I think we're seeing that experience come in from ATK.
For sure. We'll talk about their BMT as we move into game number 4. But Proxy, you did get a question in the chat. Someone's looking for some Apex Legends advice. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
I have not. What was the question thrown at us?
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick read because I feel like we need to give the chat some love. So Toffees wants you to explain how to push a core stick that is dug in and defending. Is there even a point to try?
So yeah, there is a point to trying. I mean, obviously Nade's come into the conversation before, and we've spoken a little bit about how to sort of handle, you know, a caustic like that. I mean, if you can find an angle to actually diffuse those traps, because they are diffusable. I'm not sure if you know, but when you're deploying them, when they're still, you know, springing up into action, if you shoot them, bam, they're gone, they're done, they're dusted. If you shoot any of the parts of the bases, again, instantly disassembled. The opening there is sort of actually done and dusted, and throwing in those nades, getting those caustic traps actually set off when you actually need them to, and they're just sitting there, the gas is going, but the team can't use them when you actually push through. So it's about sort of just finding that strategy, finding those, you know, little openers to really get into a building like that. Sometimes some caustics, they will go just for the sheer gas going through instead of just blocking, you know, the entrances, because with that gas, you know, buff coming through, they do a lot more damage and it's incremental. So you just sort of have to see how your caustic is set up and look for those openers.
There we go, Toffee. Apex Legends 101, courtesy of Ace Proxy. We do have a winner of the keyboard. I know you were all answering a little bit earlier. Asus ROG and ICAllStarGaming hooking you up with a stack of prizes. So we're just waiting so we can announce who that is. But don't forget, oh, I've actually just been told in my ear we have it. So guess who won? Was it you? If that's you, if that's you, then once again, people in my ears are trying to tell me to say this name. I'm not doing it. Your name is on the screen. So if you are the winner, congratulations. Someone from the ICAllStarGaming Twitch account will slide on into your DMs. We do have more giveaways. I will tell you about them moving into game number 4. Hey, Proxy, you think I forgot? Do you think I forgot about Ace Proxy playing the guitar? I mean, I know we didn't hit 300 concurrents, but I'm the captain. Pick that baby up. Do a little stringy string. Let's go.
Okay, I can't pick up that one. That's an electric. You're not going to hear anything, but I do have this one. I do have something.
Because she knew I wouldn't take no for an answer.
I'm ready for your chaos.
I mean, do you need me to? I can drum.
Are we going to have Tech Girl sing sometime?
No, I already said no. I'm the captain. I make all the decisions. The answer's no. This is my desk. Before you play, if you're watching, someone needs to clip this because we want a little bit of action. I'm going to count you down like a drummer. 3, 2, 1, go. Not, I just heard Anthrax, our producer, say not bad. That was shocking. She just played guitar live on stream. I thought that was amazing. Well done. Lots of fun in games. I hope that you are having fun watching, but we're going to get really serious after this break. So get ready. Game number 4. This is it. The Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Finals. No more giggles after this. Welcome back to the Incredible Connection Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Finals, the biggest Apex Legends tournament South Africa has ever seen. 20 of our best teams are competing for their share of that 100,000 Rand prize pool. It is all to play for as we move into the final game. We'll talk about the teams that are contesting. We will talk about the level of play. My name is Tekkel. I'm joined by two incredible casters. I'll bring them in a bit. But before we do that, we've been doing giveaways the whole game, the whole broadcast. You know how we do it here at All Star Gaming. Incredible Connection has got behind South African gaming. They offer so much to gaming fans. Consoles, PCs, they've got you covered. You can either go into one of their 72 stores, or alternatively, if you want, you can shop online as well. They're all about building the community. So far with All-Star Gaming, not just from an esports point of view, but from a content creation point of view, supporting South African streamers, they've given away more than 150,000 Rand in prizes. And I'm going to add some more to the pot because I'm giving away that Asus ROG keyboard right now. Of course, Asus ROG partnering with them. I've given the keyboard away already. There you go. I was just going to give another one away. I do this every time. Let me just tell you, every single time I come onto one of these All-Star Gaming things, I just try to give more stuff away. Okay, so there won't be a keyboard, but I will announce the winner of the voucher. Remember, you had to tweet out what you would buy with your voucher. Well, we have a winner. So I see you're getting a little mic. Oh, nice for your streaming. Getting that mic, that's what you'll spend your money on. Congratulations. That 1,000 Rand Incredible Connection voucher is going your way. The Asus ROG keyboard has been given away. I apologize for getting you excited about that, but don't despair because I do have one more prize. This is a biggie. If you've been watching, if you've been supporting, if you love these Apex Legends teams, you know what you need to do. You need to go out and you need to tweet about the team you're supporting and why. Because at the end of the show, we are giving away this incredible gaming rig. Look at that, worth 18,999 Rand. All you need to do is you need to go on Twitter, on Instagram, on whatever social media platform you love. And I want you to share the love, shout for your team, talk about why you should support them. Make sure you tag Incredible Connection, Medal States as well, and use the hashtag ICAllStarGaming. Little hints as well, every single time you tweet, you go into the draw for that PC if you are sharing the hype about your favorite team. So send as many tweets as you can. Get really excited. It's the final game and your final chance to win that gaming desktop, which I kind of want to enter now as well, but apparently I'm not allowed to, so that sucks. Let's take this to our casters. Two of the best, Tendo and Proxy, are here. Game number 4. This is it, team. At the end of this, we will have our champions, and they will be, I mean, Tendo, I'm going to say it. I think winning the biggest tournament the country's seen makes you the best Apex team in South Africa. Would you say that title's up for grabs as well as the awesome prizes?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what everybody has to play for in this final game. You know, I think coming into this one, it's about to get serious. You know, I think this is where you're thinking about the aftermath, you know, and what is going to happen in that aftermath and what you can walk away from it. But obviously, you still have to focus in the present moment on this a final game. And I mean, this is a big turning point, a big, you know, arc for a lot of these teams coming into this final one, because yes, it looks kind of settled and over to some degree here and there, but there's definitely still everything up to play for.
There is definitely everything up to play for. I think that top 4 is still wide open, but I do want to talk about the team that's sat at the top since the start. ATK Esports is Proxy. The thing that I love about competitive teams is when they showcase that BMT, that big match temperament. And this is something that, You've either got it or you don't. ATK has it. We know they've played overseas. They've performed consistently well. When we started the show, we said this is the team that has consistently been named the best in South Africa. Now they have to put their money where their mouth is. They're doing that. I mean, it is because of that BMT. They know when to pop off. They know when to sort of calm down a little bit. They control their pace really well in game. So when they need to get aggressive, they are. Otherwise, they back right off. And they've got that secret weapon, Chambi, sitting in their back pocket. I mean, is this it for them? I can't see them getting knocked off the top spot. 55 points. Vibin is closest with 36. I mean, all they need to do right now is kind of just last till the mid game maybe, and they've potentially got it in the bag.
So yeah, it comes down to a game of ifs. If ATK gets taken out early on, if there's another team in that top 4, top 5 even, that really pops off and really picks up an insane game, then yeah, we could be looking at an ATK that's being knocked off that top spot. But again, it's the game of ifs that we're playing. And if you're playing on a game of chance in a battle royale that is literally based on RNG, that is literally based on random number generation and chances all day, every day, then yeah, your odds are looking too great. I think ATK have just been consistent. They started with that amazing 28-point foundation game in the game number 1, picking up game 2, game 3. They was just, picking up those points here and there, sneakily going up that leaderboard, which is exactly what we were waiting for.
The thing about being a competitive team is that you can't just rely on being super hot in game. You do actually need to think about all of these things. Like you mentioned, it is a game of ifs. So you need to have those first 2 games you have to pop off. That's where you have to, there's no warming up in a tournament like this. You want to pop off in game 1, pop off in game 2. By the time you hit game 3 or 4, you don't have to worry about the ifs because you've secured your spot. There are other teams that have done the same. Vibin for me, Washed, Dark, Envy, and Ween. They have all consistently stayed in the top 7, which means they are all fighting for those top 4 spots. And I think those are the teams we are going to be watching as we move into game number 4.
And speaking of game number 4, we are underway.
Whoa.
DSG are taking a lot of heat. Yeah, I mean, they just threw us right into this one, and this is exactly what I love, right? I mean, wow. The action is already packed in. It's definitely shaping up to be that final game to prove who is one of the best teams in South Africa as it currently stands. DSG down to only 2 members, sliding into the bubble here. Nando doesn't find the where was the player on the sidelines? The shots come through, gets the crack, but Nando's down to almost no HP. Oh, it's the stick of doom. It is. He gets the trade at least. It's all up to either Mino in almost, I believe, a 1v1, if I'm not mistaken. Beaming down with the RE45, the gas is also popped. And now he's trying to stabilize just a little bit. Actually finds a lot of damage there. But now everything is calm. And this contention that's happening between these 2 teams is quite hectic. The kill feed also lighting up right now. I mean, this final game is so explosive. And look how many teams are at Thermal Station where we usually find WRG here is.
And we're down to 18 teams almost in a matter of seconds. As you mentioned it, Ida Mino now, last member remaining alive for DSG Esports here, but not with a lot of bullets, I might add. Only 50 spare to work with here, running both of those light guns. I mean, the Scout, the RE45, if ever there was a gun that I needed in a stressful situation, absolutely one of the guns that I'd want to pick up here. But getting that information here for Ida Mino, I mean, there's just so many unknowns right now, and I can see, checking out, trying to take away some sort of a safety, get away from that nonsense right now and just escape. It looks like it was the Breads that was in the conversation as well, joining the conversation at least. So we already had, basically a 3-squad takedown as we look at it. Unfortunately, for the likes of DSG, they're going to be down to 1 member, but that is still 1 member at least picking up some placement points. However, it is the game of chance here, and we have to talk about that prize pool. But for the time being, 6-9 kills are gonna make me just for a little bit while we just appreciate the rampage fire that is coming through. The cracks are in, and now we've got a Ren, we've got a Bloodhound, we've got a Horizon trying to take the aggressive angle here, trying to take a team out almost at the get-go. Running that. The Black Hole trying to get some sort of a team into the conversation here. The Rev comes in as well. It's the game of ultimates as we look at it. A Valkyrie trying to escape, loaded and afraid, has a little bit of backup to work with here, but the doing the damage game with that Rev Totem. It doesn't matter that they go down because they've got the opportunity to reset.
Man, this is one of those final games where I feel like all the teams just made the decision to kind of go all in. And I can kind of understand based on how the leaderboard is looking. You know, if you see the teams, Ween Gang sitting at 6th place with 19 points. It's probably like what Sam said just before we started, as one of those teams that are still in that conversation for that top 4. The rest of the teams actually need a miracle, right? Because they need like a 30 bomb to even be in that top 4, because the top 4 teams are already sitting on 70 points, right? So you have to match that. And WRG in a crazy fight. Lemon's nade is good onto Rexu. Rexu's down. And I saw Nibble in the same spot as well, I think, when I was looking at the map. And Days the knock. Nyling gets that down. Oh, Nyling's taking a lot of damage. Goes down himself. And it's all up to Lone. Damage control on the opposite end seem to be down the player, but what is not down is their aim. Taking a couple of shots there is the Valkyrie player with the L-Star. And I just feel like there's action everywhere on the map. And the zone is not really helping with how much action is happening, right? Because it's pulling all the way north where teams are already fighting, and there's a lot of teams fighting on the south side. And all those teams are just going to get caught in transit trying to make their way into the next zone.
It's absolutely that. And I mean, we've been talking about rotations being the issue. We've been talking about, you know, the teams that aren't focusing on those early rotations, they're going to be struggling a little bit. They're going to be finding themselves in a position they don't want to be. ATK can see just on the edge of that zone, near close to that safety point. 6ix9ine Kings dropped a player there, and unfortunately now within that recovery haven't been able to get the banner. Looking like they do want to. 32 seconds on that banner timer, hoping to try and get something, maybe get their team back in the action at full strength here, but at what cost? Of course, no information to work with just yet, because that Bloodhound is knocked and out of the count. So it's only the Rev and the Horizon to work with here. Some wingman shots not quite connecting. We do see Visimus in chat, in the kill feed at least, unfortunately taking a little bit of damage there, but fortunately for 6ix9ine Kings, that does mean that they have an opener here. So 6ix9ine Kings and Visimus fighting for this, and I think Visimus right now might just be camping the banner, Tendo. They might just be ensuring that nothing's going to be happening.
Yeah, I mean, you're also looking at where Visimus is situated on that leaderboard, right? And they can still, you know, pop off in this one game and maybe find themselves in that top 4 position. Can't really say the same for 69 Kings, who at this point are just trying to put as much numbers as they can down. Nibble's up, and I've seen Nibble in the kill feed, so that's already improvement, you know, based on how they've been playing tonight. So you love to see that. And I feel like the wild thing to happen in this game would maybe be Nibble winning things and then just shaking up the top of that leaderboard. Maybe not winning, obviously, the overall event, but, you know, 3rd, maybe 4th, that might be still interesting just based on how the day has gone, right? It hasn't been the best of days. What is not going good is this team over here just trying to run away into the tunnel. Thankfully, they're in. Ween Gang on top here where Skyhook is. And I mean, yeah, this zone is never a good zone for any of these teams in Skyhook, I've always found, because they always just get caught in these chokeholds, in these open fights, and hopefully a lot of teams are going to make some active decisions to try rotate it a little bit ahead. WRG's roster still all the way up, and they're making their way out down there from where the zone is.
We can scan this area.
Ooh, rotations. 14 squads still alive in this one, Tendo. I mean, bro, the first zone is still closing. What is the action that we are seeing on our screens right now? All of the teams, I mean, those early fights, those early drops, early contentions really popped off. You can see Nibble and WLG still making their rotations in. 6ix9ine Gaming now feeling a little bit of the brunt of the action here as the fire is on their back seat. You've got to be careful there with the outside teams that are coming through. Absolutely crazy gun, especially with the nerf coming through in season 10. And I cannot believe what is happening on here. The Horizon clutch of the century. And Akatsuki holding on to whatever they really can for their team. Looks like not quite the team wipe has come through. But look at those beams, Tendo. I mean, having that sort of control with an All-Star at that range, it's not an easy gun to work with.
Yeah, definitely not an easy gun to work with, and Inakato's actually been one of those players that's always impressed me because he always stands up above the rest of his team, pretty much in every situation, and he's definitely bringing all the guns onto that roster. Damage control have held this ground for quite some time, and the shots are flying there from Style, dealing a little bit of damage there with the Havoc. G7 Scott shots from HH, just trying to pop off to see if we can get any damage. Doesn't find much. 14 squads up. Did see WRG add Nibble on that same rotation like you mentioned, so I'm curious to find out if they'll collide. And what is definitely colliding is nice bullets onto the entire roster of damage control. The zone, a lot of teams have actually made it into it, right? It's kind of interesting. I kind of thought teams would get lost in transition trying to make their way in, but everybody seems to be playing for this end game.
I think what happened, with that previous game, we had a lot of teams unfortunately drop out due to, those rotations, the paths that they were taking. They were constantly finding themselves in a fight towards the outside of that zone. And as I mentioned, just to have that zone creep up on you as you're trying to finish a fight, as you're trying to reset and try and, just reclaim some of that composure, it really does throw you off. So I think for many of these teams, they have reset. They have basically come up with a new game plan this time around. And with less of the teams involved, as as compared to our first game tonight, we had 18 to 19 teams still in exactly this zone. Now we're completely seeing that contrast coming through, and it's just the adaptation that they've had to bring in. WRG, one of the straggling teams that still have to find their position. ATK, however, again, one of the teams we really need to focus on because they are in contention for the first place right now of the Apex All-Stars. So for them to be in that first place spot and in such a good position, we might be seeing that ATK win. Tender, what are you thinking?
I think the hashtags are starting now with that ATK win. I feel like they've positioned themselves also already in a really good spot leading into this next zone. And Sam said during that halftime interval in that break that they just need to finish somewhere in the middle, right? And they probably can still win it out. So for them, I don't even think they're playing to potentially win the entire game in this one. They just need to play to fish a couple of kills and just try and keep stacking. Inakato stacking some damage, but takes some damage as well. And not to pop that bad. Was able to get the one member back into this fight. And so now 69 Kings do have a little bit of an opportunity to shake things up just a little bit. Inakato has 1.5 damage and no kills, guys. Come on. Like, sometimes I wish you could get like an extra cheeky point just for dealing that much damage,
Listen, I agree with you. That is criminal. I mean, we've seen Inakato getting knocks, the nades, the beams, but no kills to show for all of that damage. It is an absolute... Oh, it's a Gutbuster. I mean, shout out to, Gutbuster from Pistol. I'm sorry, I'm using your name this way. But as we take a look at it, White Rabbit rotating on in, just shoulder to shoulder with so many teams. And here come the beams, exactly as I was waiting for from Lexu. Evo shields cracked, more Evo shields keep cracking, and Tenchi in the kill feed finding Project Rise, and looks like we're seeing a Nibble Tenchi kill leader. So immediately this action is beginning. But as we look at it, WRG also one of the teams we wanted to talk about, right next to GOATs, right next to so many teams who are just trying to find safety in the zone. We have so many teams just caught it off in these one-on-one fights with other teams that are just delaying them even further. And I mean, it's that question we talk about, like, when do you back out? When do you say this is just not worth it? 11 squads left, and Nibble are picking up some serious points this time around.
Yeah, Nibble is looking really good. They're looking like the well-oiled machine from the group stages. In a good spot as well, rotating into the edge of the zone, right? Because they can pretty much just see everybody in front of them kind of dictate what's happening. WRG in a similar position as well as ATK. And, those are those teams that we keep talking about, and they're kind of playing similarly, right? Just trying to fish kills on the edge of the zone. And the G7 Scout shots from Alpha and absolutely melt the player down that corridor. And I mean, for Vibing, this is a really crucial game, right? For Vibing, this is potentially a second place finish in the All-Stars event, right? And I think we looked at Vibing as not one of those teams that would actually win it all to some extent, right? So I'm curious what's going throughout their mind. It's a young team as well, so you gotta really be playing onto that, right? So you don't have that experience coming in. How do you hold things down? Dark Esports are definitely holding things down here with this.
What happened?
Back at it again. Tendo, as you were saying, you know, Dark Esports also in the conversation as we're looking at it, and we've got Arcstars, we've got Bloodhound ultis, and we've got absolute beams with the EVA 8. It's WRG trying to just make sure that they've got every single thing, every single angle locked down and out. Beautiful team wipe coming through from them. And as we look at it, 10 teams left. We're at that halfway point, Tendo, and now the conversation turns to, okay, well, we've got top 4 teams. We have an idea of who might be taking this. We have an idea of who might actually be looking for the clean sweep, that last-minute upset. You think it's possible?
I think it's definitely possible. Maybe not a first place upset, obviously, but we definitely have to still look at where third and fourth is situated. And Tenchi or the Octane just running around trying to push out as much damage. WRG is behind them, so I'm a little bit worried that they might be taking up this fight a little bit too long. ATK is doing ATK things in the kill feed. They managed to take down a team, get a full squad wipe on that. Nibble has to clear their back very soon. Just worried about that rotation that might come up onto them, but they're dealing as much damage in front of them as they possibly can. Tenchi's still sitting as kill leader in the lobby, so not too many kills are being distributed everywhere just yet. Shreds the player, doesn't get the knock quite yet. Actually gonna jump on pad onto him. Can he find the kill here? Tenchi, very risky to be jumping in like this all solo like, but the player is just unexpected. And it's actually from Wingang. Vias goes down. So now Wingang is putting themselves in a bit of an awkward spot to come in and maybe try and cause an upset and get in that top 4, because now everything seems to be crumbling for them, as well as Bradley, and now Cheetah Boy is the only one up and he's running away. Cheetah, what can you even do? He drops the dome at least to stay alive for a little bit longer.
Oh, get out of there. That's the only thing he can do. You do not want to be going up against a wilding Tenchi on stim with the beams ready to take out anyone in their path. But here for Nibble, they are looking absolutely...
Ooh, that nade!
No!
Dude, the bad pop just in time, but what's also happening is this team's pushing in onto Tenchi, but the EVA 8 shots aren't good enough and he goes down to the hands of Nai, and everything is crumbling now for Nibble. They need to find something. Gutbuster 20 Tenchi, and that's it for Nibble Esports. We thought they were going to be in our top 4, but no. The storyline didn't shape it up. And now we have to look at ATK. Where is ATK? They are just vibing. They're chilling out. WRG are also making their way in. And I mean, as we've seen it all tonight.
I'm losing my absolute mind. The fact that we can see ATK, who's currently sitting in that first spot, make it up to top 7. Tendo, I feel like, you know, we had this conversation. They just had to make it halfway. And now look at what they're doing. They're in contention to actually potentially take game 4, the last game of the All-Stars Apex Legends. Beautiful tournament brought to you by Incredible Connection and All-Star Gaming. I can't believe that this is what we're looking at. Of course, those prizes brought to you by Aces ROG. And man, the action is still picking up. Top 7 squad left alive, and the beams are still continuing. Woo! ATK still picking up kills, Tendo. They're picking up points.
They're picking up points, they're picking up kills, but they're in a bit of a tough spot trying to rotate into the zone while gatekeeping a squad. 2 players on the team are down to minimal HP, but look at Krillix just trying to hold things down. Has to drop the ulti, Dust goes down. It's all up to Chambi. No, it's actually just all up to Chambi. I was about to say Krillix is still involved actually, but now Chambi has to solo things up. ATK is crumbling down to their feet, but you would say they've done enough to probably clutch things up for the first place spot, and they go down. Unfortunately, we're all of a sudden down to 4 squads. WRG's the Dark Esports, and for Dark, this is big. I think Dark Esports, looking over there, they're 4th place coming into this game. They could finish maybe even at 2nd, maybe 3rd. Right now, Dark Esports needs to just control things in the camp. Vibing goes down as well, I think, in the kill feed. Yeah, Dizzy, Alpha, and like a Luke go down. So everything is really shaping up for the Dark Esports storyline, but look at WRG, look at their positioning.
Oh, they have such a beautiful angle here. They've got such visibility of everything that's happening in front of them right this second. And exactly that, Dark Esports have an opportunity here, depending on how this is shifting. Now, that zone coming through, Dark Esports and Visimus. sorry, not Beastman's coming through and holding actually onto that angle. But as we look at it, they need to be careful here. WRG still on that edge of that zone, still need to try and rotate on in after they reset and just compose themselves for this chaos that is about to ensue. 3 squads left. Who's it going to go to? Question here now is who's going to start that fight first, because then that third party game is all but set in stone. WRG might just be waiting for Beasimus, for Dark Esports to go head to head and then just pick up whoever is less. They're taking such a long rotation and they're going to fall in potentially right behind or right in the middle of the likes. That pad coming through and where are they hopping on into? Bombardments are dropped and they are giving themselves such space right now, but they need to figure out where they are taking this pathing. These teams are literally right on top of each other. Nintendo, what is happening?
Right on top of each other, indeed. They're also right on top of each other in terms of where they're placed on the leaderboard, right? WRG definitely can maybe finish in 4th, maybe even 3rd, just based on how they've been playing today thus far. A little bit consistent, but not as consistent as we've seen them. Ulti is dropping down from the sky. Thankfully, they're not involved in that situation. Dark Esports holding up a good spot. ICAllStars in the hand here of Decimator. They've got the gas to work with, but the shots are flying from up above as they just try and stabilize. The zone is closing in. 1 minute for everything to burst to life here, and I feel like whichever team here wins is probably going to finish really high in that top 4 spot, ladies and gentlemen. So you really need to keep an eye, especially on that kill feed, because we might not be able to catch everything that happens as Dark Esports is just trying to hold up their ground. The shots are flying left, right, and center here from Nuz with the R301. They've done a little bit of damage here, the team of Dark, but they need so much more points and this win if they want to guarantee things. Visimus has taken down Niling, Ali. Look at Doc. Doc's just waiting for this to happen. No one is looking at what Doc's doing. I don't really think that the two teams are really focused on them, and Doc can really make something work for them. The nades are being lobbed, the shots are flying in. The damage, though, isn't really connecting. Right now, WRG is still up. Niling is actually being res, but they're in a tough spot here, as I'm not too sure how it's going to break down.
I'm not too sure what's going to be happening here, but also what you have to take into account is so many teams still have their ultis to work with. They have that defensive bombardment. They have those caustic gases to work with, and some of the teams just have a jump pad to work with if they want to get themselves into a better position. But for the likes of these 3 teams, it is an absolute stalemate. Everyone just poking and prodding at each other, throwing nades, trying to find some sort of an angle here, and I cannot imagine how low they must be on those shields, on those meds. How low can you go at this point in time? They are running to the edge of the wire, trying to delay things, looking for those angles. It's Rexu just spotting out a player or two. The ArcStars are raining in. These grenades right now
so much happening.
So clutch. All the chaos, Tender, all the chaos you need.
All the chaos we need coming in here. WRG are looking to try and close this one up. The dome is popped a little bit early, so it'll fade away faster than the rest of the squads. Everybody's just juggling around the train. No one's trying to take up this fight early, and they're just trying to wait for this third party. This actually might just go down all the way, right down to the wire, just based on the way these 3 squads are playing. And for the first time, I feel, even in All-Star history, we're getting a full 3-way fight here, as WRG's actually got the high ground on top, and they're just juggling things well. They're just trying to let Visimus and Dark Esports fight things out below. No knocks have been exchanged just yet. Dome is popped. I actually hear knock pop through. And look at Niling with the flat line. It's raining down terror. And he takes down 1 member down the side of Dark. WRG are looking good. They're positioned well. Someone's climbing on top of the car. The Gibby Blair goes down. They're just trying to juggle as much as they can. But WRG... Wait! Wait, Visimus?
Well, you couldn't have got a better final game, could you? That last one was clever. Visimus was very quiet. Tendo, they were, I mean, I get to see a bit more because you're obviously having to focus on what you're looking at. Visimus was like doing a sneaky, I think they were just waiting. And then as WRG dropped, they came in after them and they were able to clinch that right at the end. Nice little sneaky play from them. WRG, that moment is the moment, Tendo, you know, it's your face that you pulled when that happened. It's that moment WRG just went, are you joking? Are you actually joking?
Because I actually even think that just might, like, if they had won that game, I think they finish in the money. But now that Visimus won that game and Visimus was so much higher than them, I think they're going to be the team in the money because Doc was already there, sitting at 4th place. Man, that is so tragic. There was just so much happening. I could barely keep up with what was going on.
Welcome to the grand finals of any big tournament. This always happens. You always got to have a little shake it up at the end. The bean counters are furiously typing away to figure out who is going to be named the Apex Legends All-Stars champions. But before we get to that one incredible final game, Proxy, I was going to ask you a question, but I've just been told that we can finally announce the winners. They fought through all the qualifiers to get here, the top 20 teams in South Africa. This is it, the biggest Apex Legends tournament we've seen, 100,000 Rand in prizes up for grabs, and we can now confirm the winners of the Apex Legends All-Stars Grand Finals. Can you guess who those champions are? Do you even know if you're watching in the chat? You have to wait a little bit longer. Proxy, that last game was pretty impressive, right? I'm just going to give you guys a super hard time about this. I'm going to drag it out. I actually know who won because I'm very good at maths. But we can now give you those winners. The admins are actually, I've just been told the admins need to check something. They're not happy with me trying to jump the gun here because apparently Sam decides her maths is better than theirs. Proxy, final game though. We saw a lot of the teams that we expected on the leaderboard. We saw them fall out early on. So do you think that I'm pretty sure they'll know where they stand if they're as good at maths as I am. But do you think that they're waiting with bated breath to figure out if they finish in the money?
I think they know. I mean, if I know anything about any of the players, they are counting every single game. They are looking at the stream. I think they know, but we need to find out because I'm not very good at math.
Okay, here we go. This is it. The champions of the Apex Legends All-Stars tournament. Your best team. I knew it. There they are. ATK Esports claims the top spot. They are still uncontested. I said it at the start of the show. From day one, ATK has been the best Apex Legends team in the country. They continue to dominate. Congratulations. But look at that, Tendo. Look who falls into second place after what they were able to do in the last game, pushing Vibin out, and then Washed finishing in 4th. Tendo, that was it. Visimus's win in that last game allowed them to pull into second place.
Tragic, right? I think, commiserations to WRG because maybe they weren't going to finish second place, but they definitely would have probably finished somewhere closer to where that money is. I'm actually so curious to see exactly what the numbers are looking like, right? Because it could have just gone down right to the wire. But big congratulations to ATK. Like I said, a big talking point for me when I was thinking of today between Nibble, we're still going to have to bring it back from all the way in the beginning between Nibble and ATK is which team was more regimented for this kind of high octane competitive environment. And clearly, the better team ended up winning.
Tendo, I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to answer your question for you. So I've actually got some scores here. So Visimus sat on 43 points with 22 eliminations. And then we obviously saw Vibin and Wash. Dark Esports was in 5th with 37 points, 11 eliminations. White Rabbit Gaming, 36 with 18 eliminations. And just Washed and Dark actually ended on the same points, but Washed goes ahead because of elimination. So that was close. Between second place all the way down to 6th, 43 points for second place. 36 points for 6th. That just shows you how competitive Apex Legends is at the top level here in South Africa. Nibble was also able to pull themselves up into the top 10. This is amazing. How exciting for the future of this title, Tendo.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and once again, we have to just shout out Incredible Connection, Middle State, Asus ROG as well, for making such a wonderful event happen. And you can see just from me, just at that end scene, how much it really meant to see, especially Visimus, coming in as a wild card. I actually put them on there as one of those teams that we should just look out for. And what's funny is I feel like all of my teams that I was like, yeah, we should look out for these teams, and this is the wild card teams, are actually the teams in the top 4, and those other teams are just nowhere to be seen, except for ATK, of course. So, wow, what a great tournament, honestly.
You called it. We bow down to you, but now I just want you to know what happens, because from here on out, every time you make a prediction, we're going to be expecting great things. The pressure's on now. You must always get predictions wrong, at least 2 or 3. Then no one expects magic from you every time, but too late. I was going to chat a little bit more, but I think what we need to do is focus on some of the prizes that we have up for grabs just before another bout of load shedding hits. So, we were giving away that incredible gaming PC. That was what was on offer. You needed to shout for your teams. You did such a fantastic job. And it's really important that we do stuff like this online because, one, it creates awareness. Other Apex Legends fans can see and come and watch the stream. And two, it's a really great way to just show All-Star Gaming how much we love their supports and appreciate them. And now someone's going to love us because we're about to announce the winner of that gaming rig. Congratulations. I can say your name. Worth. Oh, it's not Worth. That was worth what it was worth. Okay, well, I can't say your name. I've just seen where it is. Well, there you go. Good luck. Well done. You won a PC. I'm not even going to try. I feel like production, I just went straight for the bottom. That's where you always put the winner name. Now they put the winner name on the top. But congratulations. You just won a gaming PC. I'm done. Look at me. What a way to end the show. Proxy, from my side, I mentioned to Tendo how competitive now said competitive 4 times. Wow, they're going to cut me off. The teams are looking so impressive. It looks so competitive, but ATK actually finished on 65 points. Visimus was at 43 in second. So my question to you is, you've been following this scene for a long time. You know that after this, there'll be even more tournaments. Can ATK Esports be beaten?
Everyone can be beaten. I'm gonna go to it. You're not gonna put me in the pressure seat too much, but everyone can be beaten. At what point that's going to be ATK, I'm not too sure. We've seen ATK, maybe not go as high as they would have wanted to in past tournaments as well, but this roster in particular has been really, really strong. It's, they have been beaten before, I might add, in other tournaments that we've had recently. So I think it's still possible, but they absolutely proved and showed why they deserve to win today. They were so consistent. They had everything. They had all their T's dotted, their T's crossed, I's dotted. I can't even English anymore because I'm shocked at the fact that they could stay that consistent. Even when we were doubting them, I don't even know how they were feeling it. They knew that they could do this.
ATK, they are your winners. They are your Apex Legends All-Stars champions. To every single team that participated, to every single player, for me as well, my first time coming into Apex Legends, what an incredible community, what an incredible show you've put on for everyone. And I hope that this is just going to get bigger and better. What an amazing scene, and I know that it's going to grow. Let's recap very quickly. So point number 1, Tekkel can't read winners' names, and she's really bad at it, so we've got that. Point number 2 is that Tendo looks fantastic in a suit. Point number 3 is that Apex Legends, the esports scene in South Africa, is popping off. And point number 4 is, I've got to say this, I'm actually going to be really serious, so we're just going to drop this off. I was going to make more jokes, but I want to say that I have been so incredibly impressed with Proxy and Tendo. To the Apex Legends community in South Africa, you have 2 of the best up-and-coming talents I've worked with in South Africa, so be nice to them, cherish them, because they put on an incredible show. To the community who's been supporting to all of this, you've been phenomenal. And of course, to IC, incredible connection, All-Star Gaming, for getting involved, for jumping in here. It's been Apex Legends, it's been FIFA, it's been Fortnite. They just want to build the scene, and it's been incredible to be part of this journey. I hope while you've been watching, you've appreciated it as well. I hope that you realize what it means for all of us, whether you're a fan of Apex or another title, what it means to have a brand like this involved and putting so much behind it. And you know what the best part is? They're not done yet.